Check my check. So good evening everyone. So we meet after kitna time? 1 week? So we were discussing child marriage, and in the child marriage in the last class we had talked about the घर बंधन ceremony, है ना? And in the एक verbally तो discuss हुआ था ना घर बंधन ceremony, right? So in the घर बंधन ceremony the marriage will take place before 14 years of age. However the सुन लो यार मेरी however the bride will go to the groom's house after puberty, right? So that was the religious reason behind the garbandhan ceremony. ठीक है ना? तो लिखिए इसको एक बार. So write down the heading child marriage. garbandhan ceremony लिख लेते हैं. Child marriage. Reason is equal to child marriage. Reason is equal to garbandhan ceremony. GHAR bandhan BANDHAN garbandhan ceremony. Reason is equal to garbandhan ceremony that had religious basis. Garbandhan ceremony that had religious basis. That had religious basis. That had religious basis, as per which marriage before puberty, as per which marriage before puberty, as per which marriage before puberty and consummation of marriage, marriage before puberty and consummation of marriage, consummation of marriage post puberty, consummation of marriage post puberty, consummation of marriage post puberty. Garbandhan ceremony as per which marriage before puberty and consummation of marriage post puberty, that is establishment of physical relations, will take place post puberty. However the ties will be set before puberty. That means even if the child is 1 year of age or 2 years of age, rishta pakka ho jayega, but proper married life will start after puberty, right? Next point. Due to religious basis, not just a social issue but socio-religious issue. Due to religious basis, not just a social issue but socio-religious issue. Therefore, high use of scriptures by reformers and orthodox Hindus. High use of scriptures by reformers and orthodox Hindus. Reformers and orthodox Hindus. Next point. Efforts of Vidyasagar, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, efforts of Vidyasagar led to Age of Consent Act 1860. Led to Age of Consent Act 1860, which set minimum age of consummation, minimum age of consummation at 10 years. Minimum age of consummation at 10 years. Right? So this is no reform, right? This like, see, the point is not that the Hindus, they used to breeze this, right? Or they used to not follow the Garbandhan ceremony. In most of the cases, it would be followed. In some of the cases, it will not be followed. So why you are choosing 10 years of age? You are choosing 10 years of age so that definitely before 10 years of age, puberty will not have taken place. Right? So therefore, you choose the bare minimum. Right? So therefore, that is why 10 years of age is chosen. Right? In reality, ऐसा नहीं है that just after 10 years of age, the girl child will be sent to the husband's home. It is possible that at 12 years of age or 14 years of age, she is being sent. But the Britishers, they want to, keep it कि इससे पहले तो definitely puberty नहीं है. So therefore, that's why 10 years of age. Right? So it is not a big reform or anything. But yes, the Britishers, they are saying something about this. Next point, Akshay Kumar Dutt. Akshay Kumar Dutt. A.K. Dutt, Akshay Kumar Dutt cited medical opinion, CITED, cited medical opinion against child marriage. Cited medical opinion against child marriage. In brackets डाला लगा के use of reason. So there are some social reformers who are using reason also. And scripture-based debate is any which ways taking place, right? So if someone is citing medical opinion against child marriage, that establishment of physical relation is not good for the body of the child, right, girl child. So therefore, it is like you are using reason, right, for your social reform. Next point, Rukhma Bai case. Rukhma Bai case. Rukhma Bai case. 1884-88. 1884-88. रुखमा बाई केस 4 साल चला 1884-88. Right? So this case became very, very famous. That's why it is mentioned. And in the last films, I think UPSC also asked something about it. Right? So basically in this case, the issue was that the child marriage had taken place. Right? But after that, because of the support of the family, etc., the girl had turned 22 years of age and she had not gone to the husband's house. She was into studies, etc., etc. And now the Orthodox Hindus, they force the husband that you go to the court, right, asking the court for an order that your conjugal rights, that is your right to establish physical relations with your wife, that has not taken place. So therefore, you ask the court that it should pass an order in favor of your conjugal rights. Right? And 22-year-old Rukhma Bai, she was saying that the marriage is null and void, right? Because we have lived separately for 2 decades, right? And the reformers, they supported Rukhma Bai, whereas the Orthodox Hindus, they supported the husband. So actually, it was a fight between the Orthodox sections and the reformist sections, right? So therefore, that is what it is. In the end, what happened? In the end, it was the Rukhma Bai who lost the case, right? After that, but I think she went abroad or उस प्रकार से कुछ ठीक है. तो right now, married as an infant, and after decades of separate living, she argued that marriage is invalid. Next point, 22-year-old Rukhma Bai, 22-year-old Rukhma Bai, taken to court by husband. 22-year-old Rukhma Bai, taken to court by husband. On grounds of denial of conjugal rights. On grounds of denial of conjugal rights. On grounds of denial of his conjugal rights. Next point, Rukhma Bai Defense Committee. Rukhma Bai Defense Committee of Social Reformers. Rukhma Bai Defense Committee of Reformers. Rukhma Bai Defense Committee of Reformers was led by Malabari. He was also a social reformer. Was led by Malabari, whose 1884 note, NOTE, whose 1884 note on child marriage, whose 1884 note, NOTE, that child marriage leading to enforced widowhood, child marriage leading to enforced widowhood, had created huge controversy. Enforced widowhood had created huge controversy. Bracket में स्टार लगा, you can write down. If age gap. So if there is high age gap between the bride and the groom, so by the time she reaches puberty, बड़ा टपक गया, and therefore she is a widow now. So therefore child marriage is leading to forcing of widowhood on the girl child, right? And therefore this had created a huge controversy. Why? Because in a way he is accusing the parents कि आप अपनी बेटी को विधवा देखना चाहते हो, right? That is, he accusing the parents that you want your daughter to be a widow, and therefore it created a huge political controversy. So therefore he was a social reformer, and a committee was formed which pooled in money, hired lawyers, etc. to fight the case in favor of Rukumabai versus Orthodox Hindus who supported husband. Versus Orthodox Hindus who supported husband. Orthodox Hindus who supported husband. Next line, she lost the case. Next line, she lost the case. She lost the case. Right? Next point. I think she's also famous as a doctor. She went on to become a doctor. Right? तो anyways, एक बार क्वेश्चन पूछा जा चुका है, दोबारा यूपीएससी पूछने वाला नहीं है. ठीक है, तो एटलीस्ट अगले कुछ सालों तक तो नहीं पूछने वाला. हाँ, वो दूसरा वाला था. राइट, दूसरे वाला था. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. हाँ जी, divorce was not allowed as per the Hindu law, right? Divorce was not allowed as per the Hindu law, right? Next point. 2 years later, next point, 2 years later in 1890, 2 years later in 1890, death of 11-year-old Fulmoni, death of 11-year-old Fulmoni because of sexual abuse, because of sexual abuse by husband, because of sexual abuse by husband. 2 years later in 1890, death of 11-year-old Fulmoni due to sexual abuse by husband, due to sexual abuse by husband, led to Age of Consent Bill 1891, led to Age of Consent Bill 1891, that set minimum age of consummation, at 12 years, led to Age of Consent Bill 1891, Age of Consent Bill 1891, that set minimum age of consummation at 12 years. Minimum age of consummation at 12 years. Right? So look at the reluctance of the Britishers after 1857 to interfere in the social issues, because the age was 11 years, so therefore they do the bare minimum and put the age at 12 years of age. Right? So therefore they are very, very cautious. They are doing, but the social reforms, they are taking a back seat. They are not as aggressive. So 11-year-old ki death hui to 12-year-old कर दिया हुआ, minimum age of consummation of marriage, right? But this is going to create a huge controversy, because in 1880s and 1890s, your Orthodox Hindus, they were on a rise. The Orthodox Hindus, their attitude was that you have taken over our economics, you have taken over our politics, but will not allow you to enter into our homes, right? So even if it is a social issue, then Hindus will decide that what kind of social reforms should be there. Who are you to decide? For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak supported the Orthodox Hindus in this particular matter. Although in his personal life, he married his daughter as late as possible as per the Hindu, Shastras, or as per the Hindu law. But publicly, he was like, who are you to interfere? Fine, if it is a social issue, we will deal with it. What the government has to do in our social affairs. You are a Firangi government, why should you interfere? What is your jurisdiction? You do not have any authority. अगर आप बात सही भी कह रहे हो, even then you do not have an authority. So that is why he was supporting the Orthodox Hindus, right? And because of the increased racism of the Britishers after 1857, the anger among the Indians was very high regarding cultural nationalism. That is, after 1857, the Britishers, they were like using slogans like dogs and Indians are not allowed. They were they were highly critical of the Indian civilization. And therefore, the Orthodox Hindus, they were more prominent now. They're like, keh kaise diya? Right, fine. मतलब जो भी है हमारा अच्छा है. You get lost. This kind of scenario was there. Right? So, Orthodox Hindus, they will be more prominent now. Because they will be, this is also a negative element of cultural nationalism, आप बोल सकते हो, that the Orthodox Hindus, they are opposing the reforms. Why? Because their feelings are hurt. They say, how dare you say something so negative about my civilization? Whatever we have, it is good. Who are you to what kind of reforms? Get lost. Right? So therefore, this kind of a emotion, it is rising. And in which ways, the reformers, they were not going to the ground level. The reformers, they were not targeting the masses. It was only Keshav Chandra Sen from the Brahmo Samaj who thought that he should go to the ground level. So therefore, the social reformers, they were at the upper section of the society. And they were also talking only to the upper section of the society. And as a result, जो आम आदमी था, उसकी leadership आई Orthodox Hindus के हाथ में. Why? Because उनके बारे में कोई सोच ही नहीं रहा है. Right? These reformers, they are elite people. They are writing articles. Raja Ramohun Roy writing in Sanskritized Bengali. Common man तो उसको समझ भी नहीं सकता, तो common man उनका target ही नहीं था. Right? So therefore, the common man came under the grip of Orthodox Hindus who did not want any social reforms. Right? So write down. Now a huge controversy as Orthodox Hindus who controlled the masses, Orthodox Hindus who controlled the masses, opposed the bill. Full stop. Tilak argued that British have no right to interfere. Tilak argued that British have no right to interfere in Indian customs and religion. And any reform should be product of not government action. Any reform should be product of not government action. Any reform should be product of not government action but social movement. Not government action but social movement of Indians. Not government action but social movement of Indians. Not government action but social movement of Indians. Next point. R.G. Bhandarkar of PS 1867. R.G. Bhandarkar of PS 1867. R.G. Bhandarkar of PS 1867 and of Pune Deccan College showed by research on Dharma Shastras that Hinduism allows marriage post puberty. Showed by research on Dharma Shastras that Hinduism allows marriage post puberty. Showed by research on Dharma Shastras that Hinduism allows marriage post puberty. post puberty. Full stop. Overall, reforms against child marriage failed. Overall reforms against child marriage failed. Overall reforms against child marriage failed. मारे बिल तो एक्ट बन गया, बट खाली कानून से क्या होता है? Right? There are many laws. The society has to adopt those laws in their minds and heart. Right? So overall, the reforms they are failing with respect to child marriage. Next, write down widow remarriage. Next heading, widow remarriage. Widow remarriage. इसको ब्रैकेट्स में WR लिख लो ताकि बार बार फिर ना लिखना पड़े. Widow remarriage. Widow remarriage. Right? So write down. There existed problem of child widows. There existed problem of child widows. Due to child marriage and high age gap. There existed problem of child widows due to child marriage and high age gap. Due to child marriage and high age gap. High age gap. Next point. Efforts of Vidyasagar led to Hindu Widow Remarriages Act. Efforts of Vidyasagar led to Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856. Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856. In brackets star लगा के Dalhousie 4856. Dalhousie 4856. Right, so he is the viceroy at, he is the Governor General of India at that particular point of time. However, upon remarriage, the woman lost. However, upon remarriage, the woman lost right to property of dead husband. The women lost right to property of dead husband. Dead husband माने ex-husband, right? Right to property of dead husband. Right? मतलब एक negative है उसका. Next point. In Maharashtra, in MH, comma, Vishnu Shastri Pandit. In MH, Vishnu Shastri Pandit. And in Telugu speaking areas of Madras, Veerasalingam Pantulu. In Telugu speaking areas of Madras, Veerasalingam Pantulu. Set up societies for WR. Therefore the debate continued even after 1856 law. Therefore the debate continued even after 1856 law. Right? So passing a law is not a solution. The society should be willing to go for widow remarriage. Right? आपने allow कर दिया widow remarriage, इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी हर कोई widow remarriage करने लग जाएगा. Right? There has to be acceptance in the society. So therefore you see that law is not a final solution. Even after this, the people, they have to set up organizations to promote widow remarriage. That's why they are setting up societies. Right? So जहां पे हमने लिखा है ये जो सोसाइटी थी विष्णु शास्त्री पंडित की, इट वाज सेट अप इन द ईयर 1866, राइट. सो जस्ट टू हैव सम आइडिया कि ये कितने टाइम बाद तक ये डिबेट चलती जा रही है, सो यू कैन विष्णु शास्त्री पंडित के ऊपर आप लिख सकते हैं 1866, राइट. दिस सोसाइटी वाज सेट अप इन 1866. उनका ईयर देखना पड़ेगा, वो मेंशन भी नहीं है बुक्स में सच, right. Years are not that much important, but the point is important that even one decade after the passage of the law, still the reformers are struggling to convince the people to go for widow remarriage, right. That is the point which is important. That tells us that the reforms were not successful, right. Next point, Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule in MH. Jyotiba Phule in MH. Jyotiba Phule in MH made efforts among lower castes. Jyotiba Phule in MH made efforts among lower castes in Maharashtra, made efforts among lower castes for WR. For WR. For WR, widow remarriage. But he failed. But he failed. But he failed. But he failed. His wife was Savitra Bai Phule, right? But he failed, right? His wife was Savitra Bai Phule. So, for example, in the books, so this was like a husband-wife, and they made a lot of efforts for different kind of social reforms, including education among the lower caste. He was from Mali caste, right? And they had to face boycott within the caste, right, that you are supporting female education, you are supporting widow remarriage, right, this kind of scenario, but still they persisted, right. So in the books, for example, Savitra Bai Phule के बारे में mainstream books में as such it is not mentioned, right. Spectrum में अब आ गया होगा because last year या last to last year UPSC asked a question, तो जो भी UPSC question पूछता है वो spectrum में होता नहीं है, फिर वो next year में डाल देते हैं, ठीक है, तो आ गया होगा उसमें, ठीक है. But why that question came? See, in the coaching we'll be telling you the things from the mainstream books. If the government of India is celebrating 100 years of Savitra Bai Phule, something is coming in the current affairs, so that is your responsibility and that will get covered from the current affairs. And उस साल में या उससे just अगले साल में अगर वो आता है, so therefore that is coming from the current affairs portion actually, right. So ऐसे तो बहुत सारे social reformers हैं, we cannot cover everyone, but this is like one example where the government was celebrating anniversary of a social reformer, of women social reformer, and therefore they asked, right, this kind of scenario, right. So anyways, next point, Pandita Ramabai, Pandita Ramabai, Pandita Ramabai, Pandita Ramabai dash in brackets MH, माने कि in Maharashtra, dash examples like her were rare, examples like her were rare, examples like her were rare, full stop. she married late, माने कि child marriage नहीं की, she married late and married a man from lower caste. She married late and married a man from lower caste. Full stop. Later got widowed. And worked for women related reforms. Worked for women related reforms. Example setter. Widow home. Example setup, widow home in Maharashtra. Example setup, widow home in Maharashtra. Example setup, widow home in Maharashtra. Next point, result is equal to. Orthodox Hindus finally won Orthodox Hindus finally won scripture-based debate. Orthodox Hindus finally won scripture-based debate. That is, Hinduism does not allow, that is, Hinduism does not allow widow remarriage. That is, Hinduism did not allow widow remarriage. Did not allow widow remarriage. Full stop. Due to huge debates, due to huge debate, the issue became popular. Due to huge debate, the issue became popular. And now, even lower castes, which earlier practiced WR, comma, stopped WR. By 1900, next point, by 1900. So actually the issue is becoming very popular. Everyone is debating. Samaj charcha kar raha hai ki widow remarriage. Everyone is watching. Game is being played between the Orthodox Hindus who are referring to the scriptures and the reformers also. They are referring to the scriptures. Everyone is watching who will win, right? And everyone is gradually discussing. Issue is very hugely debated. And ultimately, when the Orthodox Hindus, they are able to prove that as per the Shastras, widow remarriage, it is not allowed in Hinduism. So therefore, what will be the impact? Lene ke dene pad jayenge. Because now, even those Hindus who are practicing widow remarriage, right, they will start saying, Re Baba, right? Ye to paap ho gaya humse. Paap ka baap ho gaya, right? This kind of scenario, right? So therefore, as a result, it to negative ho jayega, right? So, be it child marriage, be it widow remarriage, both of these reforms, they are failing, right? So, write down, by 1900, only 38 WRs in MH. By 1900, only 38 WRs in MH. Only 38 widow remarriages in MH, Maharashtra. In Maharashtra. Full stop. It succeeded only in Haryana. It succeeded only in Haryana. As here it was already being practiced. It succeeded only in Haryana, as here it was already being practiced. Right? For example, one practice is there, which is even today, at times it happens, that for example, if two brothers are there and the elder brother dies, so therefore the younger brother, he does not go for his own marriage, and therefore he adopts the children of the elder brother and he marries the sister-in-law. ऐसा मतलब हो जाता है. So within the family, this kind of widow remarriage kind of life takes place, right? So that the household is taken care of, right? So here it was already being practiced. That is why here it was a success. So it was the success in Haryana for the widow remarriage. It is not a product of the efforts of social reformers. It was since it was already being practiced. So therefore, वहाँ पे acceptance relatively था, right? So that is what is there. Now you write down a heading, character. Now you write down a heading, character of reforms. Character of reforms. Character of reforms. Right? For example, in 2006, UPSC asked a question, characterize the main features of Indian Renaissance. Characterize the main features of Indian Renaissance. Well, directly they have asked the features, right? Similarly, other questions are there. In 2007, again, they asked what was the character of social religious reforms in the 19th century and how did they contribute to national awakening in India, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario, this kind of questions have been asked, right? Regarding the national awakening, see what is the national awakening or the cultural identity. बहुत सारे questions पूछे गए हैं regarding the cultural identity. So cultural identity इस प्रकार से Indians knowing who they are culturally. Since huge amount of debate is taking place, since reformers are telling us that widow remarriages, they should be allowed, that child marriage should not be there, that sati pratha should not be there, that infanticide should not be there, that casteism should not be there, etc., etc. So therefore, as a society, we are coming to know that which of our practices are right practices and which of our practices are wrong practices as per our own scriptures. Why? Because scriptures were used by the reformers to tell us that this is the right practice and this is the wrong practice. So we are becoming more aware about our identity, that who as a Hindu we are. We are talking about Hindu here because we are talking about the majority population, right? 80% of the population was Hindu population, right? So you are becoming more aware that who you are, and that is your cultural identity, right? Since scripture-based debate is taking place for many decades, so therefore this cultural identity, it is shaping up gradually. Second point, even in the case of early social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, we mentioned that cultural nationalism was a reason. That is, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and other social reformers, they wanted to give a response to the Britishers that we are not inferior, that in the true Hindu religion, these social ills are not present, that as per the Vedas, these things, they are not to be done, right? So therefore, cultural nationalism is also rising. Cultural nationalism is closely connected to you being proud of your identity. You are awakened now. A, in your heart, patriotism is there towards your culture, that we are not inferior. And B, in your mind also, you are more aware, because every day newspaper article is coming that Raja Ram Mohan Roy or XYZ social reformer is saying this thing about a particular reform. And the opposition party, that is the Orthodox Hindus, they are saying that thing about the social reform. And they are arguing on the basis of scriptures. Right? So your mind is also getting awakened कि आपके scriptures actually में क्या कहते हैं, right? For example, right now, not many people would be aware that actually में Vedas में है क्या? Why? Because, but let's say कोई Twitter पे debate start हो जाए या newspaper में debate start हो जाए, one party saying Vedas ये कहते हैं, दूसरी party saying Vedas ये कहते हैं. So therefore, as a common man, you will become more aware about what do the Vedas they say. This kind of scenario, right? So mind is getting awakened, and heart-wise, you're feeling more cultural nationalism, and usme you can use the examples of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and plus, as we are going to move post 1857, there will have Ramakrishna Paramhans, Swami Vivekananda, so वहाँ से भी इस चीज को निकाला जा सकता है, right? This kind of scenario. तो ये है. So write down. Right? So what should be the basic idea whenever we are talking about character or feature of anything, right? So for example, if features or characters are being, character is being talked about, right? So therefore your focus should be that, for example, what reforms were targeted? That is, आपके goals क्या थे? आपका एक्स्ट्रा फोकस किस चीज पे था? उससे हमें पता चलेगा कैरेक्टर माने नेचर, राइट? की हाइलाइट्स. सो विच रिफॉर्म्स वर योर नंबर 1 रिफॉर्म्स? सेकंड, तो इन गोल्स को अचीव करने के लिए आपने मेथड्स का यूज किए. व्हाट मेथड्स यू फॉलोड? उससे हमें पता चल गया दैट व्हाट वाज द कैरेक्टर और द नेचर ऑफ द सोशल रिफॉर्म्स. थर्ड पॉइंट, दैट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सिनेरियो, okay, ultimately what was the result? That how successful you are, and if you are successful, why you were successful, and if you are a failure, then why you were a failure. इसमें subdivision भी हो सकती है, that which reforms are success, which reforms and why, and which reforms are failure and why, right? So result and why that result, right? If you discuss this particular kind of scenario, right, then you'll be able to characterize the social reforms movement. So broadly हमें already पता है. क्या पता है हमें? For example, if we talk about the reforms, तो हमने एक चीज notice करी that in the early phase, radical goals like women-related reforms and caste-related reforms, they were neglected because they were considered too sensitive by the early social reformers. However, in the later phase, इनके ऊपर ध्यान गया. Second aspect we see that too much amount of focus is there on women-related reforms. Child marriage, widow remarriage, इस पे काफी focus है, right? So why there is that focus, right? सो उसको हम आपको बताएंगे. द फोकस वॉज बिकॉज इट वॉज लाइक यूपीएससी इज टेकिंग एन एग्जाम, राइट, and we are trying to prove that we are worthy to become an IAS officer. Similar kind of colonial mentality kind of a thing was there in the mind of Raja Rammohn Roy. He also had a colonial mentality, although culturally nationalistic, but still colonial mentality. How? You want to pass the exam which is being conducted by the British. The British gauge or the British measure of determining whether a civilization is a great civilization or an inferior civilization was status of women in the society. So if in your society the status of women is good, then we will say that your civilization is good. And if in your society the status of women is bad, then we will say as a civilization you have not prospered. Right? So therefore, because the social reformers, they wanted good marks from the Britishers, right? Therefore they focused on women-centric reforms. Because they wanted good marks, a character certificate from the Britishers, therefore they focused upon women-related reforms. वरना आप देखिए कि हमने कहा पंडिता रमाबाई के बारे में that she was a rare case. So therefore examples of women leading the social reforms related to women, they are rare. The social reformer is a person who says लाजो तू परे हट, मैं करूंगा तेरा रिफॉर्म. लाजो को आगे आने दो. No, the men of the society, they are saying that reforms are women related reforms, but we will do it. So therefore there the leadership is not being given to women, and this was also one of the major reason that reforms are failing. Had there been more and more women reformers, then probably usse the confidence of the normal average women of the society would have increased to voice their grievances, right? So therefore, and because focus is only to get good marks from the British, therefore you see कि women related reforms हैं but women leaders absent हैं. आप उनको आगे आने दीजिए, right? So therefore this kind of scenario it is there, right? So that is the focus of this thing. Methods अगर आप देखें, so here the main reason why the result is negative is the methods. Two kind of methods were there. A, focus on British authority. आपको बहुत कम विश्वास है जनता के अंदर और आपको ज्यादा विश्वास है अंग्रेजों के अंदर. You have less faith in the masses, you have more faith in the Britishers. That is why Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar is lobbying with the Governor General, please bring a Hindu Widow Remarriages Act, please bring a Hindu Widow Remarriages Act, please bring Age of Consent Act 1860, please bring Age of Consent Act 1860, Raja Rammohn Roy, please abolish sati, please abolish sati. Social reforms, they are not dependent on the government's law. तो कहीं ना कहीं एक एक्स्ट्रा विश्वास है that if the government does this thing, तब सारी चीजें ठीक हो जाएंगी. That is, you are depending on the British legislative authority, executive authority, and judicial authority. The tougher task was to go to the common man, tell them, convince them that see, all of these socialists, they should not be present in the society. बड़ी मुश्किल काम है. कौन माथा पच्ची करेगा इनके साथ? They are thinking ये तो गंवार है. कौन इनके बीच में जाएगा? Who will go between them? कौन इतना बड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाए, संस्था बनाए, कौन गांव जाए? इजी शॉर्टकट पाथ है, अंग्रेजों से एक कानून बनवा लो. इजी शॉर्टकट पाथ इज इफ द ब्रिटिशर्स दे ब्रिंग अ लॉ, देन ब्रिटिशर्स की टेंशन वो देखेंगे, उनका कानून है. सती अबॉलिशन एक्ट आ गया, अब अंग्रेजों की जिम्मेदारी, अपना काम हो गया. शॉर्टकट. टफ थिंग वुड हैव बीन गो टू द मासेस. केशव चंद्र सेन जैसे लोग बड़े कम थे who wanted to go to the masses at the ground level. उनका तभी तो conflict हुआ with DBT, Debendranath Tagore, right? So therefore you see they had focus on the British authority, and this is interlinked with their method of gradualism, right? With their method of gradualism माने कि हाँ ये भी gradualism भी कह सकते हैं, with their method of not focusing upon the what you call as no focus on mass movement. They never tried to even build a mass movement. एग्जाम्पल राजा राममोहन राय बड़ी कॉम्प्लेक्स संस्कृत में बात करते थे, राइट, जो किसी को समझ ही नहीं आती थी. आप जैसे और हमारे जैसे को समझ ही नहीं आती. ओनली दी एलीट दे कैन ओनली अंडरस्टैंड दैट लैंग्वेज. सो दे नेवर ट्राइड. प्रार्थना समाज में मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ मेंबर्स वर 72, ओनली 72 मेंबर्स. सो देयरफॉर इमेजिन, सो दे नेवर ट्राइड टू बिल्ड अ मास मूवमेंट, राइट? व्हाई? बिकॉज दे डिपेंडेड अपॉन द British authority. Right? Many of the social reformers, they were gradualists. That is, they did not target the reforms in a very strong manner. They're like होले होले हो जाएगा प्यार, ठीक, होले होले है ना, ऐसा बैकग्राउंड में म्यूजिक चल रहा है, होले 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 होले, महादेव गोविंद राणा दे प्रार्थना समाज है, होले होले, राइट. ओनली केशव चंद्र सेन इज लाइक भाग मिल्खा भाग वाले गाने केशव चंद्र सेन के बैकग्राउंड में चल रहे हैं, बाकी सबके गानों में बैकग्राउंड में होले होले, ठीक. दैट इज द थिंग. सो देयरफॉर दे आर नॉट वेरी एग्रेसिव, they are putting less energy, they are not aggressive in any which way, right? So therefore that is also the reasons for the failures. So therefore this is why जो methods हैं बहुत weak methods हैं, and that is why most of the social reforms they are failing. And अगर आप masses के बीच में नहीं जाओगे, if you do not go to the masses, then are you not leaving the leadership space of the masses? You're leaving a vacuum there. That vacuum was captured by the Orthodox Hindus, right? Orthodox Hindus, they are telling the masses now कि क्या पढ़ा लिखा अपने आप को समझता है राजा राम मोहन रॉय बन रहा अपने आप में है हमारा हिंदुइज्म, राइट. सो देयरफॉर दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो इट इज कमिंग दैट बिकॉज यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू द masses, so therefore you are leaving the leadership space of the masses vacant for too long. And as the British criticism of Indian civilization is increasing after 1857, so therefore masses किसके कंट्रोल में आ गए? ऑर्थोडॉक्स हिंदूज के कंट्रोल में आ गए, राइट. तो ये चक्कर हुआ. तो रिजल्ट बेसिकली यही है. रिजल्ट इज मोस्ट ऑफ देम दे आर फेलियर्स, राइट. सती एटसेट्रा सक्सेसफुल इसलिए बिकॉज एनी विच वे सती वाज नॉट प्रैक्टिस्ड एट अ वाइड लेवल. सो ब्रॉडली दीज आर दी फीचर्स एंड द स्ट्रक्चर्स, राइट. सो राइट डाउन. अच्छा, एक और इसमें फीचर डाल सकते हैं कि भाई लीडर कौन था, लीडरशिप किसके हाथों में थी. सो लीडरशिप वॉज इन द हैंड ऑफ मेन, एंड दीज मेन हु आर फ्रॉम द अपर कास्ट, right? So therefore that kind of leadership it is there. So write down, led by upper castes, led by upper castes, led by upper caste western educated Brahmins, led by upper caste western educated Brahmins, led by upper caste western educated Brahmins. Next point, major focus on women related reforms, major focus on women related reforms, major focus on women related reforms. Since British used benchmark, since British used benchmark of status of British used benchmark of status of women, British used benchmark of status of women to decide status of civilization, to decide status of civilization. Status of civilization. ठीक है, status of civilization. However, no leadership to women. However, no leadership to women. No leadership of women लिख लो. However, no leadership of women. And this hurt success of reforms. And this hurt success of reforms. And this hurt success of reforms. Next point, was led by Brahmins. What was led by Brahmins, but were anti-priests. Led by Brahmins, but were anti-priests. Led by Brahmins, but were anti-priests. If you remember, Prime Minister, Italian Prime Minister in Calcutta, so usme P was of priest का. Not all the Brahmins are priests. Priests are those people who control the temples, right? So therefore, एक irony है that who is having the leadership? The Brahmins. And who is their target? The Brahmins. A subset of Brahmins, right? So therefore, ये भी एक feature है. Everyone attacked priestcraft. Next point. Were a response to criticism of Indian civilization by British. Were a response to criticism of Indian civilization by British. That increased post 1813. That increased post 1813. that increased post 1813. If you remember Charter Act of 1813, right? Right. Next, were inspired by doctrine of reason and of humanism. Were inspired by doctrine of reason and of humanism. Were inspired by doctrine of reason and of humanism. Doctrine of reason and of humanism. Right. Next point. Reliance on British legislative and executive authority. Reliance on British legislative and executive authority. Reliance on British legislative and executive authority. Therefore, top-down reforms. Therefore, top-down reforms. Therefore, top-down reforms. Not based on top-down reforms, not based on any mass movement. 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 Next point. This hurt success of reforms. This hurt success of reforms. This hurt success of reforms. As this hurt success of reforms and reformers did not even try, and reformers did not even try to build a mass movement. Reformers did not even try to build a mass movement. Example Roy used complex Sanskritized Bengali prose. So it is a way of writing. Bengali prose, right? Poems होती हैं उसी प्रकार से prose होते हैं, right? मतलब एक तरीका है लिखने का. Sanskritized Bengali prose, not understood by common man. Not understood by common man. Not understood by common man. Plus PS 1867 had only 72 members. PS 1867, Pratha Samaj 1867 in Maharashtra, had only 72 members. Had only 72 members. Therefore, reformers' target were only the upper castes. Reformers' targets were only the upper castes. Were only the upper castes. Were only the upper castes. Full stop. Also, leadership of only upper castes. Also leadership of only upper castes. Therefore, lower castes could not associate. Therefore, lower castes could not associate. Therefore, lower castes could not associate. Plus no women leadership. Plus no women leadership. Plus no women leadership. Therefore, no mass movement. Therefore, no mass movement. No women leadership, therefore, no mass movement. No mass movement. Full stop. Use of British authority. Use of British authority. Use of British authority. In fact, led to. Use of British authority, in fact, led to distrust among masses towards reforms. Distrust among masses towards reforms. Distrust among masses towards reforms. In brackets डाल लगा के recall reasons of 1857 revolt. Recall reasons for 1857 revolt, brackets closed. Recall reasons for 1857 revolt, brackets closed. Reasons for 1857 revolt, brackets closed. So, Hindu Widow Remarriages Act, abolition of sati, that is fear of religion. So, why are these Britishers, they so much interested in abolition of sati? उनको क्या जाता है? Why are the Britishers so much interested in, widow remarriages? Right? So, therefore, if I am a common Hindu, I'll be thinking that you, the reformer, and you, the Britisher, you are hands in glove, तुम दोनों मिले हुए हो, and you are trying to hurt my religion. Right? So, in presence of the Firangi, resulted in distrust in the heart of the masses against the reformers. Right? Why? Because trust factor is not there. कि ये इनको क्या इतना चाहिए? These Firangis, they are trying to spread Christianity since 1813, and then they are also saying Hindu Widow Remarriages Act. Is there any linkage between the two? Are they trying to weaken our customs and gradually convert us to lesser Hindus and then to Christian? So therefore, distrust. Alright. So that is also a reason for the failure of the reforms also. Right? Hanji. So probably the reformers, they are basically focusing more on the Western educated middle class. They are focusing on the Western educated middle class, which is also from the upper caste. And if you remember in the 1857 revolt, the Western educated sections, they always remained pro-British. Right? So they are thinking that if the upper caste, they change their behavior, automatically the lower caste, because they would want to copy the upper caste, वो भी automatically अपना behavior change कर लेंगे. This kind of scenario. Right? Next point. Primary importance was of scriptures. Primary importance was of scriptures. Primary importance was of scriptures. As reformers, orthodox sections, as reformers, primary importance was of scriptures as reformers, orthodox sections, and British gave primary importance to scriptures. Gave primary importance to scriptures. Gave primary importance to scriptures. In brackets डाला लगा के example of sati. Example of sati. Example of sati. Brackets close. So if you remember in sati, scripture based debate took place. Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In opposition, Dharma Sabha of Radhakanta Dev, they are orthodox, they are also using scriptures. And William Bentinck, he was also saying that if you prove to me that as per the scriptures sati is not right, then I will bring a law. So everyone is focused on scriptures. Be it widow remarriage, be it child marriage, always focus on scriptures. So therefore scriptures, they became very, very important during this socio-religious reform debate. And this is also going to shape the cultural identity. So bracket में star लगा के लिखिए. Will shape cultural identity. Will shape cultural identity. That is who we are culturally. Will shape cultural identity. That is who we are culturally. Who we are culturally. We I am using not as per religion but as per civilization. Right? So, taking that majority perspective. Right, because books भी उसी तरीके से ही हैं. Islamic reforms, they take place either as part of some of the small sects, right, which we discussed during the peasant revolts, or later on in 1870s with Sir Syed Ahmad Khan and others. Right, तो इस time पे तो अभी हिंदूज का ही चल रहा है. Right, therefore, write down next point. Therefore, reformers searched for modernity Therefore, reformers searched for modernity. Reformers searched for modernity slash rationality within scriptures. Rationality within scriptures. Within scriptures. And did not suggest adoption of British culture, and did not suggest adoption of British culture on grounds that it was superior, and did not suggest adoption of British culture on grounds that it was superior, on grounds that it was superior. In brackets डाला गया, therefore cultural nationalism in operation. Therefore cultural nationalism in operation. Therefore cultural nationalism in operation. Brackets closed. Cultural nationalism in operation, brackets closed. Next point. Reformers stayed largely silent. Reformers stayed largely silent. Reformers stayed largely silent. Largely silent on issues of casteism. On issues of casteism. Largely silent on issues of casteism. On issues of casteism. And even on women issues. And even on women issues in early phase. And even on women issues in early phase. And even on women issues in early phase. In early phase. As these issues were considered too sensitive. As these issues were considered too sensitive. And reformers feared alienation from upper caste Hindus. Reformers feared alienation from upper caste Hindus. Reformers feared alienation from upper caste Hindus. Upper caste Hindus. Plus they were themselves from upper castes. They were themselves from upper castes. Therefore neglected casteism issue. Therefore neglected casteism issue. They were themselves from upper caste. Therefore neglected casteism issue. Therefore neglected casteism issue. Next point. Most followed method of gradualism. 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 एक और फीचर है, लिखिए. There existed rival organizations. There existed rival organizations of orthodox sections. There existed rival organizations of orthodox sections. Which had greater support of masses. Which had greater support of masses. Which had greater support of masses. ये भी एक फीचर है भाई. राधाकांत देव धर्म सभा, राइट, इट वाज ऑपोजिंग, राइट. सिमिलरली व्हेनेवर दीज सोसाइटीज फॉर विडो मैरिज आर बीइंग सेट अप, इनका ऑपोजिशन सोसाइटी भी खड़ा हो जाता है कोई ना कोई ऑर्थोडॉक्स हिंदूज का, एंड दे आर हैविंग मोर सपोर्ट ऑफ द मासेस. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, एक और फीचर है, डिफरेंसेस इन गोल्स एंड मेथड्स. डिफरेंसेस इन गोल्स एंड मेथड्स. Differences in goals and methods. Contributed to failure of reforms. Contributed to failure of reforms. Example, this weakened Example, this weakened. Example, this weakened Brahmo Samaj. Example, this weakened Brahmo Samaj. Example, this weakened Brahmo Samaj. So we had discussed the controversy between Debendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen, Brahmo Samaj splitting. Then again 1878, Brahmo Samaj splitting, Sadharan Brahmo Samaj, right? So therefore, differences in goals and methods, that is contributing to what you call as weakening of the social reform organizations, contributing to the failure of the reforms, right? So this is what is there. Okay, Hanji. मतलब बेसिकली नहीं ऐसा हम नहीं कह रहे, हम बेसिकली ये नहीं कह सकते कि वो सेल्फिशली काम कर रहे थे, ऐसा हम नहीं कह सकते, बट उनका एक लेक्यूना है, राइट? आप भी कौन सा न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हो? विजनाइज की मैगजीन पढ़ लेते हो, दूसरे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट की मैगजीन पढ़ लेते हो, शॉर्टकट लगाते हो? मुश्किल काम नहीं करते ना, आसान काम करते हो, ठीक है? तुम ये कर लो, बाकी सारा खुद हो जाएगा, है ना? ऐसा ही होता है. तो बेसिकली ऐसे नहीं कहते दैट दे आर वर्किंग सेल्फिशली, ठीक है? बिकॉज वी हैव टू हाईलाइट देयर नेगेटिव्स, बट वी शुड नॉट पेंट देम इन अ नेगेटिव थिंग. एटलीस्ट दे आर अटेम्प्टिंग, एटलीस्ट दे आर ट्राइंग, right? So they are making some errors, right? They are not picking the tougher task, but they are at least doing something, right? So उस तरह से. हाँ जी. Normal families को देखेगा post 1857. So after 1857 there will be rise of such social reformers who go more and more to the masses. जैसे स्वामी विवेकानंद, स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती. So therefore common man के बीच में ये लोग फैलाएंगे reforms को. Right. So write down a heading. Post 1857 reformers. Post 1857 reformers. Post 1857 reformers. Post 1857 reformers. Right. So basically इसमें theme बहुत ही simple है. And what is the connecting theme? After 1857, the Britishers, they are becoming more and more aggressively critical of the Indian civilization. ठीक? For example, maybe I had given this example to you earlier also. For example, if you come to me, you tell me that, sir, I have some problems in, notes making, etc. I tell you that, yes, these are your deficiencies. And then I suggest you that you should do some reforms. You'll also be like, okay, sir, I'll come next time with some improvements. Right? Now imagine a scenario that you come to me and I tell you that, have you seen your face that you will clear UPSC exam? शक्ल देखी है? Right? So क्यों time और पैसा waste कर रहे हो? Why are you wasting time and money? ठीक है? Get out. Don't waste my time. What will be your reaction? Your reaction will be ऐसा है. These notes are better than your notes. What do you think of yourself? ठीक है? मैं जैसा हूँ अच्छा हूँ. ठीक है? Whatever way I am, it is perfect. ठीक है? So therefore, see, this is actually what happens when someone over criticizes you, when someone mildly criticizes you and is having a positive view towards you, is having a faith in you, then you're also willing to be on the reformist path. But if someone overly criticizes you, then there will be such a strata in the society, right? दो kind of strata आएंगे. One kind of strata will be of orthodox Hindus who will say that, who the hell are you? Our religion is even better than your religion. Get lost. And नहीं होते reform. कर ले जो करना है. ऐसे ही बनाऊंगा notes. This kind of scenario. These are orthodox sections whose feelings are getting hurt, and their response is that, how dare you say anything about how dare you say so much negative about my religion or about my practices? Who the hell are you? Get lost. Right? And you are doing widow remarriages act na? नहीं होंगी widow remarriage, करके देखा. Right? I am orthodox Hindu. Right? But there can be such radical social reformers also, like Arya Samaj, Swami Dayanand Saraswati's Arya Samaj. It was a radical social reform. उनके भी emotions same थे. They also had the same emotions, but they are more positive oriented. Right? They are like that, okay, मेरे notes की बुराई करिए ना, ठीक है? Next time I'll have such notes which are even better than you. है? क्या history पढ़ाता है तू? ठीक है? तेरे से ज़्यादा अच्छे notes बनाऊंगा. ठीक? So you see here what happens is that anger is the same, but a positive direction is given to that anger. That now we are going to do every kind of reform. So we are going to prove to you that we are superior. We are superior. Our ancient Indian civilization is superior. It is even better than you. And if you do not see on that ground, then we will prove that, and believe we are better than you. Right? So therefore, emotions, they remain the same. Same amount of anger is there, but in one case, that anger is getting converted into orthodoxy. That is no change. Right? मैं नहीं बदल रहा, यही perfect है, यही notes perfect हैं. ठीक? Get lost. And in other case, you are accepting that there is degeneration, but anger is there, but you are using that anger, and to this effect that they will be अब तो reform होके रहेगा. ठीक? So therefore, that kind of scenario. So this is the common. The anger part is the common part, and इस anger को हम क्या कहते हैं? Cultural nationalism. This is called cultural nationalism. Right? And so see what will be the difference. Raja Ram Mohan Roy will come in a suit. Right? He is promoting Western culture, etc., etc. But Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Swami Vivekananda, they will be more in their Indian dress. Right? This kind of scenario will be there, that they will be, more closer to the Indian civilization. They will be more closer to Indian civilization. They will be more closer to this thing. And they will say Vedas are infallible. Swami Dayanand Saraswati say Vedas are non-negotiable. Whereas the Raja Ram Mohan Roy used to say that if there is a clash between the Vedas and the reason, rationality, then I will go with the reason and rationality. Right? So more stronger reformers and more stronger orthodox, दोनों ही strong होंगे. Both will become strong. Because एक case में the anger is saying no change, and एक case में the anger is saying अब तो change होके रहेगा. औकात कैसे होगी इसकी कहने की? Dogs and Indians are not allowed. Right? Or this kind of scenario. Right? तो ये change आ रहा है post 1857. Right? So therefore rejection of Western culture, Western values. Now you'll be like, क्या सूट बूट पहन के आया हुआ तू? वो you're wearing this British culture. Breakfast tea, high tea, फलाना tea, ढिमकाना tea. Right? ऐसा है. We are Indians and our civilization is awesome and we are doing reforms also. But हमें तुम्हारे जैसे कपड़े पहनने की जरूरत नहीं है. तुम्हें ये बताने के लिए that we are, something better. What is this? What you are an Indian? Why are you wearing this, Firangi clothes? Right? Our Vedas are great and we will do reform also. Right? So that Indianness, that cultural nationalism is more. दोनों में ही more है. Orthodox में भी और reformers में भी. But this is actually what is happening. So this is what happens post 1857. Right? To be like British. ऐसा गुस्सा आने लग गया. Right? That why to be like British? This kind of scenario. अब ये भी गुस्सा आएगा. If you're telling me there is a need to reform, right? तो वो हो चुका. So right now, post 1857 reformers. Post 1857, there was shift towards. Post 1857, there was shift towards greater cultural nationalism. Post 1857, there was shift towards greater cultural nationalism. Greater cultural nationalism. And also towards revivalism. And also towards revivalism. And also towards revivalism. From reformism of pre-1857. From reformism of pre-1857. From reformism of pre-1857. Next point. Revivalism meant stronger assertion. Revivalism meant stronger assertion. ASSERTION. Stronger assertion of Indian traditions. Stronger assertion of Indian traditions. Stronger assertion of Indian tradition. Stronger assertion of Indian tradition. Right? ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. Revivalism implies my religion is superior. My religion is superior to your religion. My religion is superior to your religion. And my God is equal to only true God. My God is only true God. Right? This is called negative revivalism. Usually this is a negative. Usually revivalism, it is used in a negative sense. Revivalism, it is used in a negative sense. Right? Next point. Revivalism is used in a negative sense. Next point. There was now greater assertion. There was now greater assertion. There was now greater assertion based on cultural nationalism. There was now greater assertion based on cultural nationalism. By reformers as well, like Ramakrishna Paramhans, by reformers as well, like Ramakrishna Paramhans, comma, Swami Vivekananda, and Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Next point. As per negative revivalism, नेगेटिव को ब्रैकेट्स में लिख सकते हैं, ठीक है, बट मैं बताना चाह रहा हूं कि दो स्ट्रीम्स चल रही हैं, ठीक है ना. एक पॉजिटिव वाला हमने जस्ट मेंशन किया, इससे तो ऐसा एज पर नेगेटिव रिवाइवलिज्म हिंदू पास्ट वाज ग्लोरियस. एज पर नेगेटिव रिवाइवलिज्म हिंदू पास्ट वाज ग्लोरियस. Hindu past was glorious, and degeneration took place, under Muslim. Degeneration took place under Muslim and Christian rule. And that not just Hinduism is superior, but other religions are inferior. Next point. In contrast, culturally nationalistic reformers believed in universalism. That is all religions lead to God. And all gods are one. All religions lead to God and all gods are one. Right? So ये difference है. So the cultural nationalist social reformers, they will not be saying that Islam is inferior or Christianity is inferior, right? But negative revivalists, they will say that, right? तो ऐसा रहेगा, right? Next point, Ramakrishna Paramhans dash. Ramakrishna Paramhans. So he was a person जिन्होंने कोई western education नहीं पढ़ी थी. He was not at all western educated. He was totally detached in his life from any kind of western influence, right? And he was simply an ascetic. He was a sadhu, right? And whose path was that we should simply meditate, look inside, and if we continue to meditate, then we will be able to have that Brahman experience where the Atma means the Brahman, right? That is we all are one, our all souls are connected, this kind of scenario. So therefore, it was like this, right? So therefore, and what is happening with him? For example, if you are Ramakrishna Paramhans and someone is coming to you, attending your lecture, right? And after that, you realize that for the whole 3 hours he spoke, but he did not even once either criticized the British culture or praised the British culture. He did not mention the Britishers at all. He did not mention the Western culture at all. He purely talked about Hinduism and how to achieve God. That means so therefore, in a very subtle way, Ramakrishna Paramhans neglected or rejected, the Western culture. कुछ लोग कहते हैं ना, you are not important, why should I talk about you? So this is also a sense of superiority. बात ही क्यों करनी है? क्या? वो छोड़ो, हाँ. So therefore, in the meditation, right? So therefore, this kind of, so there's an inherent rejection which is there, and you guys who have just come from Western educated schools or maybe lower bureaucratic jobs, right? And in the evening, you are, let's say, attending that particular lecture, and you're like कि यार ये आदमी बात ही नहीं करता कुछ वेस्टर्न्स के बाहर, तो सारी यही चर्चा चल रही है that Indian civilization is superior or inferior or there is a need for reform or something like this, right? ये तो कोई reforms के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहा है, ये तो simply talking about that following the true Hindu path, that's it, right? And he became very, very attractive for the middle class. Why? Because the middle class was frustrated, right? They were like, if someone is telling us that there is ek to the Britishers, they tell me that I am inferior, right? I come from an inferior civilization. And then this Indian is there, right? Who looks like, maybe like Raja Rammohn Roy or Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, right? And he tells me there is a need to reform. So therefore, both of them make me feel inferior. Britishers तो directly बोल रहे हैं 1857 के बाद more and more बोल रहे हैं that you are very inferior. And ये supposedly upper caste educated, I am also from upper caste, and you are also from upper caste, and you are educated, you are a reformer, and you are also saying that there is need to change. हाँ हमें कमी है, हाँ हमें कमी है. कितनी कमी है यार में? जहां जाता हूं हर कोई आदमी गाली दे जा रहा है. ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया. रूम पूरा लाइब्रेरी बन गया. ठीक, कितनी कमी है? So I don't want to talk to both of you. I want to go to Mr. Ramakrishna Paramhans. वो ये कोई बात ही नहीं करते वो कि हम inferior हैं या फिर वो superior हैं, ऐसा कोई बात ही नहीं करते. He simply says follow Hinduism, and therefore in the Hinduism this is the path of meditation and dhyan, and therefore this is how by going more and more inward you will be able to achieve spiritualism. ये बढ़िया है. This is nice, right? So inherent rejection, ऐसा मतलब fluid kind of concept है. Second concept, he used to criticize chakri. Chakri माने you are a bureaucrat बन गए, ठीक? So therefore now, for example, you are waking up early in the morning, you are working throughout 24/7. Right? And then that's it. That's your life. Chakra of life. You're in a job. Right? So today jobs like you wake up early in the morning, सारा दिन काम किया, वापस आए, खाना खाया, सो गए, उठ के काम किया, खाना खाया, सो गए, उठ गए, right? So this is what is it? किस चीज के पीछे हो? पैसे के पीछे. You're after money. Right? So this is chakri of life. कहते हैं नौकरी, चाकरी. Right? This chakri. Chakri माने एक circle. You're not getting any time for dhyan, for meditation. You're not getting any time to follow your passion, right? And you're just after money or you're just after power, and you are stuck in that chakri of life, which begins in the morning, ends in the evening again, right? So this kind of scenario. And Ramakrishna Paramhans used to say, "Naukri chhod do, resign." Right? Ramakrishna Paramhans used to will be on the same pedestal like nowadays. If you go and search on Google, एक sentence search करना, there are many schools of thoughts which says that if you are working for more than 5 hours a day, तो चाहे आप कुछ भी कर रहे हो, you are a slave. चाहे आपको कितना ही पैसा मिल रहा हो, if you are getting lot of money, you are a rich slave. But you are a slave. Right? So therefore, and इसीलिए West में, for example, now they are talking about 3 days a week should be off. Right? So ऐसा मतलब that one should be able to not just money or not just this kind of scenario, right? तो वो है, तो ये बहुत अट्रैक्टेड लगते थे कि हाँ ये सही कह रहे हैं यार, यू नो ही वाज लाइक रिनाउंस दिस चाकरी, क्या कर रहे हो तुम अपनी लाइफ में, एंड यू आर आल्सो लाइक हाँ कुछ नहीं, पता नहीं क्या चल रहा है, पता नहीं टाइम भी खत्म होता जा रहा है और पता नहीं कुछ बचा भी नहीं, यू आर नॉट, यू आर स्टक इन दैट चाकरी. सो और इनके जो अनुयायी थे, मतलब हिज डिसाइपल वाज स्वामी विवेकानंद, राइट. सो देयरफॉर राइट ऑन. तो इन्होंने रिफॉर्म्स नहीं किए, इनका ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस इसलिए है दैट ही वाज फेमस, राइट, एंड सेकंड इनके डिसाइपल थे स्वामी विवेकानंद. सो ही इज नॉट अ पर्सन हु गोज आउट ऑफ द रूम. सो रामकृष्ण परमहंस इज नॉट अ मैन हु गोज आउट ऑफ द रूम, बट idea wise he is culturally nationalistic and who is becoming popular also, and well documented that he was able to have that Brahman experience, right, that is through multiple paths he was able to have that thing. And Swami Vivekananda searched many gurus, right, he was also part of Brahmo Samaj once, and ultimately it was only Ramakrishna Paramhans who was able to help Swami Vivekananda reach God. तो एक वो ब्राह्मण एक्सपीरियंस होता है, right, which comes through meditation. So through multiple paths of meditation, right, he was able to have that. It is well documented, right. So write down first point, was an ascetic. Ascetic माने सन्यासी, है ना. Was an ascetic. Was an ascetic who believed in meditation. Who believed in meditation, comma renunciation. Meditation, comma renunciation. रिनेंसिएशन माने छोड़ दो सब कुछ, क्या चाकरी में लगो, रिनेंसिएशन, राइट. रिनेंसिएशन एंड मोनोथीज्म एंड यूनिवर्सलिज्म, एंड मोनोथीज्म एंड यूनिवर्सलिज्म, एंड मोनोथीज्म. यूनिवर्सलिज्म तो इनका ज्यादा ध्यान ही नहीं जाएगा बाकी गॉड्स क्या है, ये बस से कह रहे हैं, बट विद इन हिंदुइज्म देयर इज ओनली वन गॉड. मोनोथीज्म माने विद इन हिंदुइज्म वन गॉड. यूनिवर्सलिज्म माने क्रिश्चियन गॉड इज इक्वल टू हिंदू गॉड इज इक्वल टू इस्लामिक गॉड, राइट. Next point, he did not directly criticize. He did not directly criticize. Monotheism पे खत्म कर देंगे. He did not directly criticize colonial rule. He did not directly criticize colonial rule. But due to pure focus on Hinduism, but due to pure focus on Hinduism, but due to pure focus on Hinduism, comma, rejected Western values indirectly. Rejected Western values indirectly. Rejected Western values indirectly. Rejected Western values indirectly. Next point, Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda. First point, believed in superiority of Hinduism. Believed in superiority of Hinduism. Believed in superiority of Hinduism. But also in universalism. Believed in superiority of Hinduism, but also in universalism. But also in universalism. But also in universalism. Next point, set up Ramakrishna mission. Set up Ramakrishna mission. Set up Ramakrishna mission in name of his guru. Set up Ramakrishna mission in name of his guru. Set up Ramakrishna mission in name of his guru in 1897. In name of his guru in 1897. To spread ideas of Vedanta. To spread ideas of Vedanta. To spread ideas of Vedanta. Vedanta simply means Vedas. What is this Anta? So therefore the point after which Vedas have been completed. And anything which comes after this, it is not part of the Vedas. Vedas complete हो गए, book complete हो गई है. So Vedant, right? तो यहाँ तक की values. The pure Vedic past. Right, Vedanta. To spread messages, to spread ideas of Vedanta. And social work. And social work. To spread ideas of Vedanta and social work. and social work. He argued, next point, he argued that a Christian could be a better Christian. He argued that a Christian could be a better Christian if he followed philosophy of Vedanta. A Christian could be a better Christian if he followed philosophy of Vedanta. Philosophy of Vedanta. Therefore, did not focus on conversion. Therefore, did not focus on conversion. Therefore, did not focus on conversion, but on values of Vedanta. Did not focus on conversion, but on values of Vedanta. Values of Vedanta. Next point, he argued for idea of Daridra Narayan. He argued for idea of Daridra Narayan. Daridra Narayan. That is, Daridra Narayan. That is, God resides. That is, God resides in everyone, including the poor. That is, God resides in everyone, including the poor. God resides in everyone, including the poor. And that service of Jiva, is worship of Shiva. And that service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. Service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. Service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. Therefore, believed in social work. Therefore, believed in social work as path to spiritualism. Therefore, believed in social work as path to spiritualism. As path to spiritualism. Believed in social work as path to spiritualism. As path to spiritualism. As path to spiritualism. Next point. Argued that Indian masculinity superior to Western masculinity. Argued that Indian masculinity superior to Western masculinity. Superior to Western masculinity. As the former focuses not just on physical strength, as the former focuses on not just physical strength, but also mental spirituality. Not just physical strength, but also on mental spirituality. But also on mental spirituality. Therefore, Indians are not feminine. Therefore, Indians are not feminine. As argued by British. Indians are not feminine. Indians are not feminine as argued by British. Indians are not feminine as argued by British. So it was a patriarchal society. The Britishers, they were also patriarchal, and therefore they used to argue that Indians are feminine. Feminine means females. So in patriarchal society, females, they do not have any leadership roles, right? They are at the back foot. So therefore they said that Indians are not capable of leadership. इनका तो body भी देख लो, ऐसा frails हैं, ये क्या lead करेंगे, right? This kind of scenario it is there, right? So ऐसा थोड़ा physical fitness पे भी ध्यान रखना चाहिए. Once I met a person who is part of the UPSC, मतलब who used to be part of the UPSC, selection, panel. तो मैंने उनसे पूछा, मतलब मेरा इंटरव्यू होने वाला था, तो मैंने उनसे पूछा सर क्या देखते हैं? कह रहे कुछ नहीं, मैं आई सिंपली लुक एट कि द पर्सन इज हैविंग गुड पर्सनालिटी. दैट्स इट, आई गिव गुड मार्क्स. क्या गुड पर्सनैलिटी माने शक्ल? क्या नॉट शक्ल, इट्स लाइक व्हाट, whether he is physically fit, does he take care of it? Brains so have already been proven. You are sitting in front of me in interview, so brains are already there. Nowadays personality कैसे, confidence से बात करती है नहीं करता, ठीक है, कैसा है, मतलब how does he or she comes across? It is not about the face, it is not about the height, but the very personality it is having confidence, right? That kind of thing. ऐसे तो अजीत डोभाल सर की भी हाइट कुछ बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है, बट अजीत डोभाल एनए से, right? तो पर्सनैलिटी इज नॉट द फिजिकल ट्रेट्स, राइट, बट द कॉन्फिडेंस दैट यू बूम, राइट. हाइट कैसी भी हो सकती है, राइट, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. छोड़ो, तो ऐसे लोगों के स्टीरियोटाइप्स होते हैं, ठीक है, सच स्टीरियोटाइप्स आर देयर, बट ऐसा मतलब यहां पे तो हम बात करें रिगार्डिंग दिस थिंग कि भाई डोले शोले, राइट, दिस काइंड ऑफ कि भाई बॉडी भी होना चाहिए, ठीक है, फिजिकली यू शुड बी स्ट्रांग, ठीक है, फिजिकली यू शुड बी स्ट्रांग. अब चाहे अक्षय कुमार टाइप हो, ठीक, या फिर सन्नी देओल टाइप हो, या सलमान खान टाइप हो, और डिफरेंट डिफरेंट स्ट्रेंथ हो सकती है, ठीक है. यू कैन बी लीन एंड स्टिल यू कैन बी वेरी फिजिकली फिट, राइट. तो कोई ऐसा कोई वो नहीं, बट ओवरऑल एक फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, right? So therefore, for example, your Swami Vivekananda, he started many akhadas, many gyms. ठीक, तो सवेरे दंड पेलते थे, शाम को मेडिटेशन करते. हंसने वाली बात नहीं. For example, many in North India, for example, they worship Lord Hanuman. So if you look at Lord Hanuman, this is the idea of Indian masculinity, that you are spiritual and therefore there is a stronger mind which is operating this body. ठीक है, इट इज नॉट रैंडम, कोई पत्थर नहीं खड़ा कर दिया हमने कि ब्रेन है नहीं एंड ओनली फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ. सो इज सेइंग वी आर सुपीरियर टू यू, वी हैव ओवर दिस वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग मशीनरी. आई एम हैविंग दिस ब्रेन ऑल्सो विच इज स्पिरिचुअल ब्रेन. सो आई नो वे टू यूज दिस फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ and where to not use this physical strength, right? So therefore this is what he's trying to say, right? This is therefore he's countering the criticism of the British colonial mentality के against काम कर रहे नहीं कर रहे स्वामी विवेकानंद. क्या कह रहे हैं कि what would you keep on saying that we have this height, that height, etc, etc, right? Indians, they have physical strength also, and for that he's starting the gym culture, and they are spiritual also, so we are superior than you, this kind of scenario. So he's countering the narrative. That's why Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose calls Swami Vivekananda as spiritual father of Indian national movement in Bengal. Spiritual माने cultural nationalism, colonial mentality. आप mind में believe करते नहीं करते that you are better than them, or on your own you are great. ऐसा mentally do you believe it or not? This kind of scenario. So yeah. So right now, Indian masculinity is superior as a form. Therefore, Indians are not feminine as argued by British, and in fact, Indian masculinity is superior. And in fact, Indian masculinity is superior. And in fact, Indian masculinity is superior. Full stop. He started movement for setting up akhadas / gyms. He started movement for setting up akhadas / gyms. Akhadas / gyms. In brackets स्टार लगा के लिखिए, first win the body, then win the mind. So this is the path that he is suggesting. पहले बॉडी को जीतो, फिर स्पिरिचुअलिटी को जीतो, बिकॉज स्पिरिचुअलिटी टफर है, वो ऊपर है, right? So first body. So for example, I was reading a small biography of Swami Vivekananda or about his life by R.C. Majumdar. There it was mentioned that someone asked, right? Some frail Indian asked. Someone asked that, should I play football or should I, attend your, meditation classes? So Swami Vivekananda looked at him. He was not very physically strong. So he said, first you should play football, right? You should play football instead of searching the path of spiritualism. Why? First capture the mind. Only then you will be able to capture first capture the body. Only then you will be able to capture the mind, right? So therefore, उस प्रकार से, जैसे in Hindi you say स्वस्थ शरीर में स्वस्थ आत्मा का वास होता है, ऐसा. ठीक है, मतलब that in your healthy body resides a healthy soul. This kind of scenario. Next point, believed in supremacy of Vedas. Believed in supremacy of Vedas. Believed in supremacy of Vedas. Plus accepted idolatry. Plus accepted idolatry. And some rituals and some Hindu rituals. And some Hindu rituals. As they simply helped develop, as they simply help develop, as they simply help develop religiosity. As they simply help develop religiosity. Full stop. This led to greater acceptability. This led to his greater acceptability. This led to his greater acceptability among masses. This led to his greater acceptability among masses. This led to his greater acceptability among masses. Right? So he's simply saying that extra idol worship I'm not supporting, extra rituals I'm not supporting, but idol worship has its positives also. Right? That is, for example, when you are in front of a idol of God, right? So therefore, suddenly you feel religious. Right? So in the normal, scenario, someone may have noticed that if you are, for example, आप कुछ गाली दे रहे हो, ठीक है, आप गुस्से में हो, आप कुछ गाली दे रहे हो, you are saying some expletives, and you are moving around your house. Suddenly you are in front of, photo of, your guru, right, or photo of your God, right, or any kind of religious photo, and suddenly like, हाँ भाई क्या कह रहा था? दूर जाके बात. This kind of scenario is there, right? Why? Because क्या हुआ? What happened? Because some amount of respect came. So actually, when you are in that thing, right? So be it idol worship, or be it, for example, you are traveling to Makkah, Medina, ठीक है, or you are traveling to a Gurudwara. तो basically जब आप उस environment में आ जाते हो, when you are in that environment, so therefore suddenly you are able to better focus on things which are religious in nature. You feel that you are in a spiritual place. You are in a spiritual place. Similarly, as for example, in Islam, like there is, you do Makkah, Medina, right? Similarly, in Hinduism, for example, many parikramas are there. For example, Vaishno Devi. So, hota kya hai? So, actually, when you are doing that parikrama, or when you are moving, when you are feeling that physical pain in your legs, you feel कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? Because I'm doing something related to God. You feel more spiritual. वो helicopter में जाके वैष्णो देवी में वो मजा नहीं है, right? When you are struggling, right, and or you're singing some songs, right? So therefore, that time you feel, totally all of your body, etc. Everyone is working towards that God. So your body is also working towards the God, and your mind is also therefore, plus mind is also working towards the God. So you feel more focused. That's it. You feel more focused. ठीक है. ऐसा तो खैर कोई आदमी बेकार है जो फॉर एग्जाम्पल वैष्णो देवी की यात्रा पे गया हुआ, फोन पे बिजनेस की बात कर रहा है. हाँ उतना माल खरीद लो, हाँ उतना माल बेच दो. अरे भाई क्या चल रहा है यार? ठीक है, वो वैसा नहीं. ठीक है, बट मतलब फोकस्ड ऐसा. तो एक्स्ट्रा नहीं, बट सम. एंड एज अ रिजल्ट, बिकॉज masses they followed idolatry, masses they followed rituals, right? So therefore he was more accepted by the masses as compared to those who are totally opposite to idol worship, right? So therefore he had more acceptability. Next point, represented Hinduism in parliament of religions. Represented Hinduism in parliament of religions in Chicago, US. 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 In 1893. In 1893. In 1893. He represented Hinduism in Parliament of Religions in Chicago, US in 1893. In 1893. Therefore, raised prestige. Therefore, raised prestige of Indian culture. Therefore, raised prestige of Indian culture. Raised prestige of Indian culture. Full stop. Plus argued here that Western materialism, plus argued here that Western materialism, plus argued here that Western materialism and Indian spiritualism, Western materialism and Indian spiritualism should come together. Western materialism and Indian spiritualism should come together for welfare of mankind. should come together for welfare of mankind. For welfare of mankind. In brackets ताला लगा के, that is, West can give technology, IR money, industrial revolution or industrialization, ठीक है, technology or money, and India can give the West spirituality. That is direction, right? Leading to overall well-being. Leading to overall well-being. There are many rich people who are in depression. Why? Because they lack this spiritualism, right? So money, technology, it is not this thing. That's why so many, rich, people, they do suicide also, or drug like out overdose. Kyun? Right? Because it is mindless, right? So therefore, both the things they should combine. Right? It's welfare of mankind. Example, इसका use आप कहाँ कर सकते हैं? इसका use आप कर सकते हैं, for example, in clean energy, in environment conservation. So environment conservation, is it not inspired from the ideas of Swami Vivekananda? That don't mindlessly follow money, but be spiritual and feel connected with nature also. So therefore, what kind of development do you want? Right? Do you want to simply to have more money? Do you want to simply burn coal? Or you want to go for clean energy? Why should anyone go for clean energy? Only because this particular, वो तो अब है ना, that water levels are rising, etc. etc. अगर पहले से स्वामी विवेकानंदा की बातें फॉलो करी होती, that mind, मतलब human should be in symbiotic relationship with the nature, right? Spiritualism, right? So this spiritualism removes the focus from only profit motive, brings the focus to something more, right? So therefore this kind of scenario, right? Socialism में भी आपको दिख जाएगा. A capitalist, a factory owner, simply for earning more money should not give very bad wages to the workers. Should work for the welfare of the workers. आप क्या कर रहे हो लाइफ में? सिर्फ पैसा कमा रहे हो, जबकि आपके जो वर्कर्स हैं, they are dying because they do not have any pension, they do not have any good wages. आप चाइल्ड लेबर करा रहे हो? What kind of person you are? Just because child labor is cheap, so therefore you are engaging in child labor. So therefore you see, this is how this spiritualism, this Swami Vivekananda can be used in socialism also, can be connected to Constitution of India also, can be connected to many things. Right? So that is what is there. Next point, Netaji called him, Netaji Bose called him, Netaji Bose called him, Netaji Bose called him spiritual father of INM in Bengal. Netaji Bose called him spiritual father of INM in Bengal. Spiritual father of INM in Bengal. Therefore represents cultural nationalism and pride. Therefore represents cultural nationalism and pride without being communal. Therefore represents cultural nationalism and pride without being communal. Without being communal. Without being communal. Next heading, Arya Samaj 1875. Arya Samaj 1875. Arya Samaj 1875. Arya Samaj 1875. Started by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Started by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati. A radical social reformer. A radical reformer. A radical reformer. A radical reformer. In brackets, died in 1883. In brackets, died in 1883. Died in 1883. Next point, believed in, first point, believed in, first point, Vedas are infallible. Vedas are infallible. Vedas are infallible. Vedas are infallible. That is supremacy of Vedas. Vedas are infallible. That is supremacy of Vedas. Supremacy of Vedas. Second subpoint. that real scientific truths, real scientific truths and rationality, real scientific truths and rationality, real scientific truths and rationality are there in the Vedas. Are there in the Vedas. Are there in the Vedas. Maneki, the West used to say na, that we are having this science, we have this industrial revolution, right? So you are saying कि ऐसा है, you want to know the true science, right? That is there in the Vedas, okay? तो हमें मत बताओ, right? This kind of scenario, right? Third sub point, promoted Hinduism as a religion of book. Promoted Hinduism as a religion of book. That is book's authority final. That is book's authority final. That is book's authority final. Comma, like Islam and Christianity. Like Islam and Christianity. Like Islam and Christianity. And what is the book? Vedas. Fourth sub point, goal was to go back to pure Vedic past. Goal was to go back to pure Vedic past. Goal was to go back to pure Vedic past. Next point, therefore Arya Samaj is equal to, goal was to go back to pure Vedic past, therefore Arya Samaj is equal to an aggressive, Arya Samaj is equal to an aggressive response. Arya Samaj is equal to an aggressive response to British criticism and racism. To British criticism and racism. Aggressive response to British criticism and racism. Next point, strongly argued against. Next point है, strongly argued against caste system. Strongly argued against caste system. Strongly argued against caste system and untouchability. Strongly argued against caste system and untouchability. And promoted intercaste marriages. And promoted intercaste marriages. And promoted intercaste marriages. Next point, supported varnashram. Supported varnashram. Supported varnashram. Supported varnashram system for organizing society. 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 Varnashram we had discussed earlier. एक बार किया था नहीं? Varnashram system, it is मतलब from layman perspective, caste system is a degenerated version of varnashram system. In varnashram system, Shudras, right? Brahmins, Vaishya, right? Comma, your Kshatriyas, right? So basically Brahmins are, basically this is based on professions, right? So Brahmins are those who are scholars, as simple as that. Vaishya, they are those who are traders or merchants, because at that point of time, okay, production. Shudras are those who are other professions. Here the word other is there, it does not mean inferior, it simply means other professions. Other professions. Kshatriyas, they are the ones who give protection to all of these three, right? So these are the protectors. These are the protectors who give protection to the all other professions so that they can work in peace, right? They can work in peace, right? And all of them, they are equal. There is no hierarchy. It is not birth based. In fact, within same life, for example, after retirement, a Kshatriya can become a Brahmin or he can become a Shudra if you follow some other profession. As simple as that. So there is no hierarchy. There is no profession which is better than other profession, etc., etc. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, right? Not birth based, right? And so that's it. So caste, etc. It is a degenerated version that you are based in a caste, so therefore you are born in a caste, so therefore that caste is attached to you. You cannot change your caste. Varna can be changed, right? They are not fixed. They can be changed. In fact, in the ancient India, there are many Shudras who became kings. Many. Right? तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं था that so therefore caste system, it is a degenerated version of Varnashram system. Right? Gradually over a period of time, those who engaged in scholar things, so therefore family based हो गया. Right? So this is the Varnashram system to organize a society as compared to the caste system. Right? तो ये है Varnashram system. Gandhi ji also supported Varnashram system, criticized the caste system. Right? So ये है. Next point, strongly opposed idolatry, priestcraft, strongly opposed idolatry, priestcraft, infanticide, child marriage, polytheism, polygamy, and strongly supported widow remarriage, and female education. Strongly supported widow remarriage and female education. Next point, failed because female education. Strongly supported widow remarriages and female education. Next point, failed because demanded radical reforms. Therefore did not get support of Orthodox Hindus, and gradualist reformers. Therefore did not get support of Orthodox Hindus and gradualist reformers. Next point, was successful in Punjab and Northwest provinces. Next point, after 1883, Arya Samaj became revivalist. After 1883, Arya Samaj became revivalist. And now began Shuddhi movement. For reconversion. Now began Shuddhi movement for reconversion to Hinduism. Shuddhi movement for reconversion to Hinduism. Full stop. In response, Sikh started Singh Sabha movement. and Muslims started Tanzeem and Tabligh movement. Tanzeem and Tabligh movements. Tanzeem and Tabligh movements. Tanzeem and Tabligh movements. वही Tanzeem and Tabligh movements. Plus Arya Samaj also began cow protection movement. Arya Samaj also began cow protection movement. Arya Samaj also began cow protection movement. Also began cow protection movement. And there were communal rights in 1893. And there were communal rights in 1893. Communal rights in 1893. Slash cow killing riots. Cow killing riots. Cow killing riots. Cow killing riots. Therefore, increase in communal tensions post 1883. Therefore, increase in communal tensions post 1883. Increase in communal tensions post 1883. Increase in communal tensions post 1883. Right? Increase in communal tensions post 1883. Now ब्रैकेट में लिखिए बड़ा बड़ा, ठीक है, एक्स्ट्रा कैपिटल लेटर्स में, refer to social reforms handout. Refer to social reforms handout. Especially for Vidyasagar, comma MG Rana De. Vidyasagar, comma MG Rana De. Right? So there is this Indian social reformers and English social reformers, it is there. So English वाले उतने important नहीं है, right? But ठीक है, fine. Right? So for example, there are many. उनके बारे में for example, बाल शास्त्री जाम्बेकर हैं, right? So he is known as his contribution was to press. So any question comes on the press, ये राजा राममोहन रॉय तो हम कर चुके हैं, right? ब्रह्मो समाज भी हम कर चुके हैं. Like about Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, for example, so he's a person who believes only in reason rationalism, right? So for example, he says that I have no time to think about God. So therefore, if there are two classes of reformers, one who believe in scriptures and to suggest reforms, another who believe in logic. So therefore, he is a person of logic. So therefore, focus was on social reform and atheism. The interesting point is that being an atheist does not mean that you disrespect the Sanskrit literature or you disrespect the Bengali literature. So he was a great scholar, and in fact his one of the biggest contribution was to Sanskrit literature and also to Bengali literature. He was a great scholar of Hindu law as well. Right? So therefore, at one point of time he is saying, I have no time to think about God, but that does not mean that he is anti-Sanskrit literature. Right? So he was born in Bengal, and as a child he was a prodigy. That means he was very, very extra intelligent, and therefore the villagers and his father, they gathered money so that he can go to Calcutta, right? And there in the home where he resided, his caregiver was a widow. So therefore he had a personal experience that how my mother-like figure, she is undergoing through so much of mental tension and so much of social stereotyping, etc., etc. And therefore it became a mission for him to go for widow remarriage, right? And also other reforms like female education. Similarly, in the case of Raja Rammohn Roy also, his sister-in-law had been made sati without his knowledge. So therefore, personal experiences of these social reformers gave them mission-like goals at times. And such was the case of your Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar also, who was born as Ishwar Chandra Bandopadhyay. Because he was child prodigy, therefore he participated in many competitions, school competitions, right? For example, competition on Hindu law, competition on some Sanskrit literature, competition on anything. And therefore he was given the title Vidyasagar at the age of 17, right? At the age of 17, he was given the title Vidyasagar because he was like a very, very prodigy kind of a student, well, very brilliant student, right? So passed Hindu Law Committee exam, title Vidyasagar because of intelligence, studied English, Sanskrit, Bangla. So he earned money, right, by winning these awards. So he asked his father, what should I do with this money? So his father said that this money has come from Vidya, give it back to Vidya. So therefore with that money he set up a school. So therefore his focus has always been from the beginning on education. Also he got printed some of the rare Sanskrit texts. For example, there is a Sanskrit text which is very important, some literature or something, right, and only one copy is there. So therefore with the help of that money he is getting photocopies done. A photocopy machine वैसा नहीं था जैसा आज का, it was tedious task, right? So he is contributing to Sanskrit literature like this, right? He made efforts at improving Sanskrit literature and for learning it via Bangla language. So you will convert Sanskrit literature into Bangla language so that the Bengalis, they can read a novel which was originally written in Sanskrit. So this is how he is trying to do. So this will also lead to enrichment of Bangla literature, because now there is a Sanskrit novel which is available in Bangla language, right? This is there. Plus he is also trying to write novels, etc. in Sanskrit, trying to improve Sanskrit literature. Now, so therefore he has a passion for his own language, but at the same time he has a passion for Western sciences and Western culture, right? That means physics, chemistry, maths भी पढ़ो और संस्कृत भी पढ़ो. संस्कृत में physics, chemistry, maths पढ़ लो, right? This kind of person he is. 1846, for example, he became additional secretary and then principal of Fort Williams College. Fort Williams it is in Calcutta. Fort Williams College was set up by Wellesley, right? So anyways, and here he became principal, and there he tried to implement some reforms. Example, unofficially the lower caste students, they were not allowed entry into college or admission into college. So he threatened that if you are going to have this attitude, I am going to resign. So therefore this is how he is totally anti-casteist, and he is trying to work for education of the lower caste also. He also became inspector of schools. So district level पे inspector होता था school का, and at province level they will be director of education, something like this. So he was given, he was made in charge of district level education. There he set up, with the help of the government money, he set up model schools, right? Model schools where, for example, physical punishment will not be allowed, right? He also set up model schools for female education. With the help of the government money, for example, he gave free books to girl child, plus free transport from home to school to home. अब उस टाइम पे ट्रांसपोर्ट क्या होगा, बसेस नहीं होती थी, पालकी, right? Palki, right? So therefore, this is how he is trying to help the education, right? So he himself suffered physical punishment because he was a prodigy. So teacher बोल रहा है रट्टा लगाओ, and वो अलग लेवल पे चल रहा है. जैसे अपना ये prodigy है, ठीक है, ये अलग लेवल पे लिख रहा है, इसका रजिस्टर राइट से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, लेफ्ट में खत्म हो रहा है, डिफरेंट है ना, ऐसा, ठीक है, डिफरेंट. ही वाज एक्स्ट्रा इंटेलिजेंट, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, ठीक. तो देयरफॉर दिस इज देयर, राइट. सो बिकॉज ही सफर्ड फिजिकल पनिशमेंट, सो वो भी एक पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस था, बड़ा होकर फिजिकल पनिशमेंट इन्होंने बंद कर दिया. बिलीव दैट गर्ल, बट ज्यादा देखो क्या सक्सेसफुल, कुछ सक्सेस नहीं हुआ, हम तो खुद पिटे. इसी से पता चल जाता है सक्सेस नहीं हुआ रिफॉर्म, है ना, नहीं तो पीटी टीचर पीटता थोड़ी इतना. एनीवेज, बिलीव दैट गर्ल एजुकेशन इज द ओनली वे टू अपलिफ्ट द सोसाइटी, राइट. सो फाइन. He opened 35 schools for female education and 1300 girls they studied here at any point of time, free transport, free books, no fee, right. Believe that only education is route to modernization. Was also principal of Sanskrit College in Calcutta, right. Widow remarriage, so he wrote a book on miseries of widowhood in the year 1855. Plus he started a signature campaign, right. He collected thousands of signatures so as to convince the Dalhousie that see, the elite Indians or the educated Indians who know the Hindu Shastra, etc. In general, right, we want allowance of widow remarriage. So that's how his efforts they led to Widow Remarriages Act on 26th of July 1856, right. And first widow remarriage was conducted on 7th of December 1856, right. He used to stand guard, right, and he used to challenge, अगर आपने मुझे पीटना है पीट लो, if you want to beat me up, but this widow remarriage is going to take place, ठीक है, you can kill me, but I am. So he used to be like this. Plus he was not like Keshav Chandra Sen. For example, in his personal life also he followed these reforms. जैसे अपने बेटे की शादी उन्होंने विडो से कराई, right. So therefore married his son to a widow, therefore followed his principles in his personal life as well. On polygamy also he wrote 2 books, right, on the negatives of polygamy. So what used to happen was the rich people, they used to have multiple wives, राइट. सो गरीब खानदान से है तो ऐसा करके ये चल रहा था. प्लस ही कलेक्टेड thousands of signatures again, this time 25,000 signatures, that the Britishers, they should bring some law to ban polygamy. Right. So therefore, he is also called father of modern Bangla prose, and as per Rabindranath Tagore, his biggest contribution was to Bengali literature or Bengali language, because he is converting Sanskrit into Bangla. So his contribution to Bengali language and Bengali literature. Right. So therefore, you can easily write anything about Vidyasagar if you follow this thing. ऐसे और भी बहुत सारे हैं छोटे छोटे. ठीक है, जैसे एमजी राणा थे. सो एमजी राणा थे इज लाइक, फॉर एग्जांपल, यू वुड मस्ट हैव सीन अ मूवी Raja Babu. आई एम नॉट कंपेयरिंग एमजी राणा थे विद गोविंदा, but in that movie there is a scene you may not have seen that he's, you know, on one picture is there of Govinda where he is a lawyer. After that another picture where is a doctor, another picture where is a policeman, ठीक है, another picture where is a IAS officer, right? So therefore this kind of scenario, but that was a movie in a fun way. Here this is happening in reality. If you look at the biodata of MG Ranade, right? So he's a student of the best college in Bombay, Elphinstone College. Elphinstone, he was follower of Thomas Munro. ठीक है, तो उसके नाम पे कॉलेज है. He was a scholar, right? That means a brilliant student. Plus he was author. He wrote books. Plus he was a social reformer. ठीक. और कुछ रह गया तो he was a judge. और कुछ रह गया तो he became a politician and became member of the Bombay Legislative Council. Right? Indian Councils Act आएगा 1892 में. Right? Second वाला. So plus और कुछ रह गया तो he is an editor also. So he is a media person. He edited Hindu Prakash, and Anglo Marathi Weekly, along with R.G. Bhandarkar. R.G. Bhandarkar और इनकी बड़ी जय और वीरू टाइप जोड़ी थी. ठीक, this kind of scenario. और कुछ रह गया. Usually in social reformers के बारे में क्या होता है? More pro-Western culture. तो fine. He is writing a book, Rise of Maratha Power. That means he is culturally nationalistic also. Pro-women. What for their education? Example, set up some society, Maharashtra Girls Education Society, along again with R.G. Bhandarkar. Widow remarriage, child marriage के खिलाफ काम किया. प्रार्थना समाज के मेंबर थे, prominent. Organizations which he set up or he was associated with. He was the main force behind Prarthana Samaj, not the founder, but he was one of the main persons along with R.G. Bhandarkar and K.T. Telang. He is the founder of Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, one of the important organizations before setting up of Indian National Congress in 1885. Right? He is also founder of Indian National Social Conference. इसके sessions INC के साथ होते थे. That is, first session happened alongside INC Madras session of 1887. Right? Religious questions were not discussed and only focus was on social reform. माने कि I am not going to discuss that whether Hinduism allows widow remarriage or not. I am going to discuss the social phenomenon of widow remarriage, that what are the positives of widow remarriage and how to go about it. I don't want to discuss religion. I want to discuss only the social aspect of it. तो मेरे को चाइल्ड मैरिज डिस्कस करना है. अब मुझे ये मत बताओ दैट चाइल्ड मैरिज इज देयर बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट द हिंदू शास्त्रा से. आई एम नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट. देयर इज अ सोशल प्रॉब्लम प्योरली. आई एम गोइंग टू टेक इट एज अ सोशल प्रॉब्लम. Right? That is the meaning of this sentence, that religious questions were not discussed and only focus was on social reform. Right? So difference between social reform versus socio-religious reform was discussed in the first class. तो he is saying भाई हमें सिर्फ सोशल पे बात करना है. हमें ये ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर की तरह है. ये कह रहे हैं भाई मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है ये देखने का गॉड क्या कहते हैं. ठीक है, आई वॉन्ट सोशल रिफॉर्म. दैट्स इट. राइट. सो इस प्रकार से है. राइट. ऐसे और भी बाकियों के बारे में भी एक एक लाइन दो लाइन राइट उस प्रकार से बनाया हुआ है. राइट. सो देयरफॉर so we go on a break of 10 minutes. Right. After that we'll meet and we discuss the peasant revolts of pre 1857. Right. Right, so please write down a topic: peasant revolts and tribal uprisings. 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 Then write down a question. Peasant revolt and tribal uprisings. Then write down a question. 1857 revolt. 1857 revolt was culmination of 1857 revolt was culmination of small and big rebellions. Small and big rebellions. 1857 revolt was culmination of small and big rebellions in first 100 years of British rule, in first 100 years of British rule, in first 100 years of British rule, full stop. Right? Discuss, elaborate, वो कुछ भी हो सकता है. Right? So this is a question which has been asked by UPSC. Right? So how to answer this particular question? Answer is basically simple. Individually, you are in one part of India and you are troubled by the British policies. You are in another part of India, you are troubled by British policies. You are in another part of India, you are troubled by British policies, and so on and so forth for everyone. Right? Now what happens? Therefore, you rise in this year, right, in that particular limited area. You rise after some years in that particular area. You rise in some next year in this particular area, etc., etc. But all of you fail. All of you fail to meet your demands. All of you fail to overthrow the Britishers from your area. And therefore, in 1857, you guys decide that this is time to rise collectively. Because alone we failed. Maybe if we are together, then we are able to rise. Right? So this is the meaning of this particular question. Now, for this question or for this particular statement to be true, what needs to be there is that the reason because of which before 1857 you rose against the British, that same reason needs to be present in the 1857 revolt as well. If there is commonality of reasons in the reasons for 1857 revolt and in the reason for X, Y, Z, P, Q, R, A, B, C, D pre-1857 revolt, then we can say that then this statement it is true. पहले आप अकेले अकेले उठे, जब आपको एहसास हुआ कि आप अकेला चना बाहर नहीं फोड़ सकता, when you realize that alone you cannot defeat the British, so therefore you decided for the same reasons, for the same grievances, you decided let us now rise collectively. So therefore, in answer to this particular question, you would have to mention that how there is similarity in the reasons for 1857 revolt and the different peasant revolts. That how the grievances they were same. And in the conclusion, you will write down that since all of these pre-1857 revolts they failed, therefore, in 1857 revolt, the society, the rural society of Central and North India rose collectively in a final attempt to overthrow the British rule. And this time they wanted Britishers not just out of their area, but out of Hindustan. Right? So therefore, this is the structure of the answer which is going to be. So bracket में साल आगे लिखें. In answer highlight similarity. In answer highlight similarity in reasons or grievances. In answer highlight similarity in reasons and grievances. Plus highlight that since pre-1857 revolts failed, highlight that since pre-1857 revolts failed, therefore in 1857 rural society, therefore in 1857 rural society rose collectively against British rule. Rose collectively against British rule. Rose collectively against British rule. Brackets closed. Rose collectively against British rule. Right? Next, write down heading grievances of peasants. Grievances of peasants pre-1857. Grievances of peasants pre-1857. Grievances of peasants pre-1857. Grievances of peasants pre-1857. See, we were in an agrarian society at that particular point of time, right? Majority of the people, they will be peasants, right? And therefore, the contact between the common man and the government is basically the taxation policies or other kind of economic policies of the government, right? The common man, equal democracy nahi hai, the common man is not party to the politics, right? The politics, it is being governed by the Indian rulers or by the Britishers, and they are fighting wars where the Britishers are being victorious. The contact with the common man happens when the Britishers, they defeat the Indian ruler and then they become the Indian ruler. And when they start implementing their policies, right? And number one policy is economic policy. Number one policy is economic policy. So if the common man is getting negatively impacted by the land revenue systems of the Britishers, then that is going to be the grievance. First land revenue system that we discussed was the farming system of 1772. Where? In Bengal. Why? Because in Bengal, the Britishers became rulers for the first time. How? Treaty of Allahabad 1765. They got Diwani and therefore they controlled the land revenue. But ideology was of Orientalism. Therefore, to increase the land revenue, they said, we will rule India the India way. That is, we will increase the land revenue the India way. And what was the India way of increasing land revenue whenever there was a shortfall? Ijardari system. Which is why farming system 1772 was nothing but Ijardari system. There the Ijardar is being called revenue farmer. Right? Auction is being held for who will collect the land revenue. Right? Now, how the operation will take place? Who becomes the number one villain? The Ijardar. Ijardar comes with his lathials, with his armed men, and he does over extraction of land revenue from the peasant. He has support of the British police. He has support of the British European DC, district collector. Why? Because in the farming system, supervision was of European DC, but actual collection was being done by the person who won the auction, that is the revenue farmer. Right? So therefore, supporting role mein kaun hai? Supporting villain is going to be the Britishers. Right? And main villain is going to be the Ijardar or the revenue farmer. So therefore, if there is any peasant revolt which is taking place before 1793, when permanent settlement came, and that revolt is taking place in Bengal, then we automatically know that what are the grievances of the peasants. Grievances of the peasants are going to be over extraction of land revenue, not respecting the patta system in which the land revenue used to be recorded, and the oppressor, number one oppressor used to be Ijardar or the revenue farmer, who has support of the British system which includes the British police, the British administrators, the British courts, the British judiciary. Right? So therefore, this is the grievance. Right? So, example, Rangpur rebellion took place in 1700. Rangpur rebellion took place in your 1780s somewhere. Okay? 1781 or somewhere. Right? 1770s. So, their statement is written that Gobinda Singh and Devi Singh, who were the revenue farmers, they were attacked by the peasants. The British Kachehri, local Kachehri was attacked. Right? So, fine. We already know that since Gobinda Singh and Devi Singh, they were the revenue farmers. So, we know what is the operation here. Right? The operation will be over extraction of land revenue. So, therefore, the grievance it is created by the land revenue system that is called farming system. And जो भी villain है, उसके ऊपर attack किया जाएगा. How land revenue was collected? Not in cash. Right? Common man market जाए, बेचे, फिर पैसा दे. Many of the times it was collected directly in kind. That is, you have 100 units of wheat or 100 units of rice. So, 80 units of rice I am taking with me. I am Ijardar or revenue farmer. So, therefore, don't be surprised that if in Rangpur rebellion it is mentioned that the peasants, they attacked the grain stores. Why? Because they are clearly knowing that तूने मेरे को कैसे लूटा? You took away my 80 units of rice. मैं वो rice वापस लेने आया हूँ. Right? And this kind of scenario. Right? So therefore, if you look at the land revenue system and if you look at the grievances, automatically know कि इसमें होगा क्या. And therefore, we can prevent the rote learning of the Rangpur rebellion. ठीक, बस हमें एक नाम याद रखना है रंगपुर, एक हमें रफ आइडिया हो जाए कि it happened in Bengal and it happened before 1793 and after 1772. Fine, हम आराम से आंसर लिख देंगे. We'll be easily able to write down all the grievances. Why? Because हमें already पता. Right? So therefore, write down first sub point. At the rate farming system 1772 in Bengal. At the rate farming system 1772 in brackets Bengal. At the rate farming system 1772 in brackets Bengal. Dash. Operation by revenue farmers. Operation by revenue farmers. Operation by revenue farmers who over extracted LR. Operation by revenue farmers who over extracted LR. And had support of British and had support of who over extracted LR. LR means land revenue. And had support of British officials. And had support of British officials. And had support of British officials. And courts. British officials and courts. Right? Second, we know that permanent settlement was implemented in 1793. In the permanent settlement, what happens? Zamindar is made the owner of the land. So you are a common ryot. Till now, you were the owner of the land in all practical terms. And now someone is saying that this Zamindar, who earlier used to collect only the land revenue, that is only, let's say, 33% of 100 units of rice. So he used to take away 33 units of rice. Now that person is made owner of not just 30, he is going to take away not just 33 units of rice, he is going to take away all 100 units of rice. Why? Because he is the owner. He is the landowner. He is the landowner. And he can claim that fine, since you have done cultivation, so fine, you can have some money, but major owner I am. तो property owner क्या करता है? Rent लेता है. Property owner क्या करता है? Rent लेता है. So therefore, fine, if you have cultivated the piece of land, I am the owner, right? And therefore, how to do this economic settlement? You pay me rent. So ryot in the case of permanent settlement will pay rent. Why? Because he is not the property owner. He is cultivating the land on rent. He is a tenant now, right? And who becomes the villain here? Zamindar. Because Zamindar, he can extract any amount of rent that he wants to extract. The permanent settlement 1793 did not tell the Zamindar that you cannot extract more than this much amount of rent. In fact, it said, you are the property owner. तुझे जो करना है कर. You do whatever you want to do. बस मेरे को ये जो 10/11 of reduce which I have decided as the absolute amount of LR in the first year, बस मेरे को ये चाहिए. You are owner of the land. तेरी मर्जी. So therefore, the Zamindar here will become the villain because he will extract huge amount of money from you as rent. Patta system is again not respected. Why? Because मेरी मर्जी. I'm now the landowner. I can do anything. If you are not able to pay rent, I'll say get out. Then you are surprised. You're like, till now I had occupancy rights. Till now no one could remove me. Till now everyone knew that my family has cultivated this land for many decades. Everyone knew that this is my land. Now he's saying I am the landowner as per the British law and you are a tenant. अच्छा, ये tenant क्या होता है? हम इसे पता ही नहीं tenant क्या होता है. क्या tenant हम बता दें क्या होता है? तू पहले निकल. Get out. Right? He's like, ये तो something new has taken place. I do not have occupancy rights anymore. मेरी जमीन छीन लिया मेरे से. Even in the Jagirdari crisis, the Jagirdars, they through the Zamindars and through Ijaradars, they used to over extract land revenue. जमीन से तो कोई नहीं निकालता था. No one used to create landlessness. Now he's saying that I'm just a tenant and he has asked me to go out. When I talk to the Angrezi official, he says no, he is the property owner. He can do anything. अंग्रेज भी हेल्प नहीं कर रहा है. अंग्रेजी कोर्ट भी हेल्प नहीं कर रहा है. This kind of scenario. So what is this? Right? This is there. Plus, third point, abwab. That is, legally, there was no legal recognition for abwab now. Because now तो British law has come. Abwab पहले की बात थी. When मुंह मीठा करने के लिए, for sweetening my mouth, used to give land revenue as per the patta system and then some nazrana, that is abwab, to the zamindar. Now zamindar says that he is the owner of the land. He takes the rent. भाई मुझे क्या पता, you are taking money. पहले तुम कह रहे थे land revenue है. Now you are saying that this is rent. ठीक है भैया, मेरी जेब से तो पैसा जा रहा ना. ठीक, तो ले लो. And then you are saying अब abwab दे दे. So abwab तो अब illegal है. There is no legal recognition for abwabs. But zamindar still extracts rent plus he extracts abwabs. So therefore operation takes the form of high rents, illegal abwabs, lack of occupancy rights. And who is the villain? Zamindar. Zamindar is the villain. British is not the main villain. Operation किसने किया? Operation किया जमींदार ने. Right? So therefore don't be surprised if the revolts which take place after 1793, in those revolts the target is zamindar. Number one target is zamindar. British, they will be secondary target. Number one target will be zamindar. Number one target will be zamindar. Right? So therefore that is the thing with respect to permanent settlement. So write down. Second point, at the rate permanent settlement 1793. At the rate permanent settlement 1793 dash. At the rate permanent settlement 1793 dash. Main oppressor is equal to zamindar. मेन ऑपरेसर इज इक्वल टू जमींदार, मेन ऑपरेसर इज इक्वल टू जमींदार, who extracted high rents, who extracted high rents. Notice कीजिए, in the case of farming system हमने कहा है who extracted high LR, and here the terminology is changing. Here we are saying high rents, right? Main oppressor is equal to zamindar who extracted high rents, comma, did not respect patta system, did not respect patta system, plus extracted abovs which were now illegal, plus extracted abovs, ABWABS, abovs which were now illegal, plus extracted abovs, ABWABS which were now illegal, plus no occupancy rights, plus no occupancy rights for tenant riot, no occupancy rights for tenant riot, no occupancy rights for tenant riot, plus supported by British officials and courts, plus supported by British officials and courts. कौन supported by? जमींदार supported by British officials and courts. जमींदार supported by British officials and courts. Right? So therefore this is the scenario, right? Because कैसे court support करेंगे? For example, you are a riot and I say get out. You are like नहीं जाता. This is my land. I will go to the court, for example, right? And I can ask the court, निकलवाओ इसको. British police will come. It will see the paper. हाँ, property is of जमींदार. हाँ भाई निकलो, चलो. So therefore you see, secondary role it is being played by the British system. They are supporting the agrarian capitalist. That is the जमींदार, right? हाँ जी. पट्टा सिस्टम था वो एलआर के लिए था. वो तो मैं आपको कह रहा हूं, जो गरीब किसान है ही सेइंग दैट पट्टा सिस्टम वाज फॉर लैंड रेवेन्यू. जो पुअर फार्मर है उसको घंटा फर्क पड़ता है, ठीक, कि ये तुम इस पैसे को यू कॉल दिस मनी रेंट, यू कॉल दिस मनी एलआर. ज्यादा कानून मत झाड़िए. सिंपल पॉइंट इज माई फैमिली इज कल्टिवेटिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर पीस ऑफ लैंड. ये जमीन हमारा है. वी आर हेयर. Earlier, the law used to say that legally this land belongs to emperor in the Mughal system. Now you have brought a law which say that this land belongs to jamidar. मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? I am cultivating this particular piece of land. No one can remove me. That's it. As simple as that. Right? Earlier also you were taking money. Then used to say we have collected LR. खुश रहो तुम. हमारी जेब से लगे ना 33 रुपए. You have taken away 40 rupees, 66 rupees from my pocket. खुश रहो. Call it LR. RL कह लो, LR कह लो, रिलायंस कह लो, कुछ कह लो, RIL कह लो. You have taken money. Now you are coming. Nothing has changed in my life. कुछ permanent settlement हुआ है. Now you are saying, give me this much amount of money. I am giving it to you. You are saying this is rent. भाई तुम खुश रहो. पर ये जमीन मेरा है. This is mine. उसको बेचारे को क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? वो तो when the British police comes says that नहीं, now he is the landowner and you do not have occupancy rights, तब इसको चमकेगा. Then he will come to realize कि अरे क्या हुआ मेरे साथ? What happened with me? अच्छा, this something has changed in my life. Now these people are saying that I will not have occupancy rights. Now he will realize that okay, this is the meaning of rent. ये तो मेरा नुकसान हो गया. Rent, अब तो मैं rent payer बन गया. Now I have become a rent payer. Earlier I was a property tax payer or a land revenue payer. Right? तो उसको तो बाद में चमकेगा. Think from the develop some empathy for the common man. Right? So common man को तो ये है भैया, पट्टे में लिखा है. This is written in the patta and take money from my pocket as per the patta. उसको तो यही है. So therefore, if a zamindar collects rent, but as per the percentage mentioned in the patta, this riot will be okay. He will be okay, obviously. क्या प्रॉब्लम? ठीक है, आप पट्टे को रिस्पेक्ट कर, पहले भी होता था, अब भी हो. इज फाइन, है ना? सो डेवलप सम एम्पैथी. सो ऐसा टेक्निकल नहीं होना कि इट इज फॉर पट्टा. इट इज पट्टा सिंपली मीन्स कि भाई दिस, इस रेट से तुम मेरी जेब से पैसा लोगे. इफ यू आर रिस्पेक्टिंग दैट, फाइन. अब तुम्हारा जो जी आई इसको कह लो, इसको रेंट कह लो, इसको एलआर कह लो, जो तुम्हारा मन करे. थिंक फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ पेजेंट. राइट? ही विल बी सेटिस्फाइड इफ मनी इज टेकन फ्रॉम हिम एज पर द पट्टा. Why? Because that is the tradition. सदियों से पट्टे के हिसाब से पैसा लिया जाता था. Even today, since centuries, you are taking money as per the patta. Now also you are taking money as per the patta. No problem. This is right. So that is what is there. हाँ जी. He is having the balance. For example, yes, he is the rest of the produce. 100 units of rice. Let's say the rent is now 80 rupees. So he retains 20 units of rice. 80 units of rice he gives as rent. The zamidar will sell that 80 units of rice in the market. He will recover 80 rupees and he will pay the land revenue to the British. This kind of system. Right. So last point क्या लिखा हमने? हाँ, British support. हाँ, no occupancy rights. हाँ, ठीक है. तो ये है discipline. हाँ, ठीक है. Next write down. रियतवारी एंड महलवारी. रियतवारी एंड महलवारी एट द रेट रियतवारी एंड महलवारी. रियतवारी का ईयर 1801 है, महलवारी का 1822 है, जब प्रॉपर्ली स्टार्ट हुए थे. स्पेक्ट्रम में 1820 लिखा हुआ है रियतवारी का. 1801 से 1807 लगाया था उसने, फिर दोबारा 1820 से लगाया था थॉमस मुनरो ने. हाँ जी, प्रॉपर 20 से लगाया था. बट अरे आप समझो ना, जब प्रूफ है ना हमारे पास कि स्पेक्ट्रम गलत है. कैसे प्रूफ है हमारे पास? व्हेन दे आर पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स इन द रियतवारी एरियाज व्हिच आर टेकिंग प्लेस बिफोर 1820 एंड देयर द ग्रीवेंसेस आर अगेंस्ट द रियतवारी. तो उससे में प्रूफ मिल जाता है दूसरे चैप्टर में जाके कि स्पेक्ट्रम गलत है. और जो मेन स्ट्रीम बुक्स में, डिटेल्ड वाली बुक्स में लिखा हुआ है, इन द बुक्स लाइक शेखर बंदोपाध्याय एटसेट्रा, इफ दे आर मेंशनिंग इन डिटेल दैट अलेक्जेंडर रीड ब्रॉट इट अराउंड 1792 एज एन एक्सपेरिमेंट, देन फ्रॉम 1801 to 1807 it was implemented by Thomas Munro, then again it was re-implemented from 1820 uninterruptedly. That means before 1820 if there is a peasant revolt against the Ryotwari, that means ना कि वहां पे था Ryotwari. राइट. सो प्रॉपरली लगाया, वैसे लगाया, जो भी है, बट बुक्स के हिसाब से 1800 थॉमस मुनरो गेट्स एक्टिव व्हेन इन 1801 एज अ सीनियर ऑफिशियल, देन ही री-इंप्लीमेंट्स इट इन 1820. राइट. सो देयरफॉर इन द ऑप्शन इफ इट इज सिंपली गिवन दैट रियतवारी सिस्टम वाज इंप्लीमेंटेड बाय थॉमस मुनरो एंड वन ऑप्शन इज 1801 एंड सेकंड ऑप्शन इज 1820, आई विल गो विद 1801 बिकॉज द मैन इज द सेम. राइट. एज गवर्नर नहीं लिखा हुआ, एज गवर्नर लिखा होगा देन आई विल गो फॉर 1820. Right, so this is what is there. So at the rate Ryotwari and Mehlwari dash, Mehlwari 1822, Ryotwari 1801 dash. क्या रहेगा इसमें? इसमें the Ryot has become the owner of the land. So therefore his problem is what? Now he is a property owner. Property owner pays LR. Tenant pays rent. Property owner pays LR. And who collects LR? The government. So here who is the number one villain? Not an Indian zamindar, not an Indian revenue farmer, but the British official or the British government. मनी लेंडर्स बाद में आएंगे. ठीक, मनी लेंडर्स बाद में आएंगे. सेकेंड विलन विल बी मनी लेंडर. राइट. सो राइट डाउन डैश हाई LR बाय ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, हाई LR बाय ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, हाई LR बाय ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, प्लस लॉस ऑफ लैंड इन गवर्नमेंट ऑक्शन, लॉस ऑफ लैंड इन गवर्नमेंट ऑक्शन, plus high interest rates by money lenders, plus high interest rates by money lenders, high interest rates, loss of lands in government auction, plus high interest rates by money lenders, plus loss of land due to indebtedness to money lender, loss of lands due to indebtedness to money lenders, high interest rates on loans, and loss of lands to money lenders due to indebtedness. Loss of lands to money lenders due to indebtedness. जब डिफॉल्ट कर देंगे तो लॉस ऑफ लैंड हो जाएगा. तो ओवरऑल क्या प्रॉब्लम है? लैंडलेसनेस. एंड प्रोसेस क्या है? प्रोसेस इज ऑफ हाई LR और हाई इंटरेस्ट रेट्स. सो देयरफॉर हु विल बी द टारगेट? Target will be the two equal villains are there. One is the money lender and another is the British government. Right? So therefore, here that will be the issue. Next, write down contract farming. Contract farming. Contract farming. Contract farming. Dash. Operation by indigo planters. Operation by indigo planters. Operation by indigo planters. in Bengal. Operation by indigo planters in Bengal. Who forced riots? Who forced riots? Who forced riots to cultivate indigo? Who forced riots to cultivate indigo on 25% of their lands? On 25% of occupied land. On 25% of occupied land. Plus indebtedness to planter. Plus indebtedness to planter. Who forced riots? Indebtedness to planters. Who forced riots? Who forced riots? प्लांटर है वैसे, एस नहीं, प्लांटर, एक ही प्लांटर होगा एक रियॉट के लिए तो. Who forced riots to take advances, to take advances, to take advances for buying indigo seeds, for buying indigo seeds and seed drills, for buying indigo seeds and seed drills, for buying indigo seeds and seed drills. Plus riot not given, riot not given, riot not given remunerative price, riot not given remunerative price, riot not given remunerative price, remunerative price for indigo cultivated, for indigo cultivated, riot not given remunerative price for indigo cultivated. That led to continuation of indebtedness, that led to continuation of indebtedness, that led to continuation of indebtedness. Therefore riot again forced, therefore riot again forced, therefore riot again forced to take further loans, to take further loans from planter, riot again forced to take further loan from planter to cultivate indigo, to take further loan from planter to cultivate indigo, to cultivate indigo. Plus soil productivity greatly affected, soil productivity greatly affected, soil productivity greatly affected by indigo cultivation, soil productivity greatly affected by indigo cultivation. Plus if riot refused, plus if riot refused, then vacated from land, then vacated from land by planter, then vacated from land by planter. That is no occupancy rights. Then vacated from land by planter, that is no occupancy rights. Vacated from land by planter, that is no occupancy rights. In brackets star लगा के planter took land on lease from zamindar, from zamindar. Therefore for period of lease, therefore for period of lease acted as zamindar for riots, for tenant riots. Planter took land on lease from zamindar, therefore for period of lease acted as zamindar for tenant riots. Right? So it is simple. Let's say you are they're in a house, right? You're living on rent, and the property owner leases that house for 99 years to someone else. Then that someone else is your new landlord. Zamindar, they used to lease the lands. The British government, the East India Company, they forced the zamindars to lease the lands to these indigo planters. Indigo is basically for coloring agent, natural coloring agent, right? So for example, your jeans color, it is blue. So therefore, when this is synthetic dye, but before synthetic dye was invented in 1880s by Germans, before that it was indigo, which was used for coloring the clothes, right? And indigo cultivation was started by the East India Company around 1790s, 1780s, 1790s, right? So therefore, these European planters, they were invited, 10 European planters, they were brought to India, and they were contacted, they were made to contact with zamindar, and the government forced the zamindar that give some of your lands on lease. Lease mane long term rent. To whom? To the indigo planter. So therefore, zamindar out of picture. New zamindar is this indigo planter, and you are ryots. And I want each one of you to cultivate indigo at least on 1/4 of the land that you are occupying. Right? For cultivation of indigo, you require indigo seeds, plus you require some equipment to drill the seed inside the land, inside the soil. For that, I will give you money as loan. Right? I'll give you the loan. With that money, you will buy indigo seeds and seed drills. From whom? Me only. I'll give you indigo seeds, I'll give you seed drills. Right? In fact, these loans were low interest rate loans. These loans were low interest rate loans. Now you will cultivate indigo. Things are fine. Plus a contract will be signed. We have written contract farming. That means a legal document will be there between you and me, whereby it will be written that you are taking this loan, plus you are going to cultivate indigo on 1/4 of your land. But what happens? I am greedy. Therefore, I sell the indigo in the outside market at 100 rupees. But to you, I only give 25 rupees. Therefore, with that 25 rupees, आपका खर्चा बैठ ही नहीं रहा फिट. With that 25 rupees, you're not able to, that is not a remunerative price. And you're not able to pay back my loan also. Then you are holding your hands in front of me. कि साहब क्या करूं? With this 25 rupees, I am not able to meet my ends. आपका लोन कैसे चुकता करूं? How should I give back loan? Indigo planters, don't worry. I am not removing you from your land. I can remove you, but I am not removing you. क्या करना पड़ेगा साहब? Take more loan. Cultivate indigo next season also. They're like, साहब मैं मर जाऊंगा. You have two options. या तो सुसाइड कर ले फिर, या get out from the land. Why? Because I am the new zamindar. I have taken the land on lease. Now it is my wish. Now you are my tenant for the period of lease. तू मेरा किराएदार है for the period of lease. Right? So therefore now you're like, ठीक है साहब, loan दे दो. Right? And therefore this continued. And this is the operation. So therefore, who is the villain here? Number one villain here is the indigo planter. Not the zamindar, but the indigo planter. Right? Also, who is the villain? British court. Because if you refuse to cultivate indigo, I have a piece of paper called contract. I can go to the British court and ask the court, please enforce the contract. Please send police. Either remove this person from my land or force him to cultivate indigo. He should honor the contract. या फिर इसको जेल में डालो. Right? So therefore, British court will come in supporting actor. Right? Because there is a contract. And contracts are implemented by the court. Right? So therefore, that is the thing. Right? Therefore, oppressor is equal to indigo planter. Therefore, oppressor is equal to indigo planter. Plus British courts since contracts enforceable and British courts since contracts enforceable. So because there is a contract, तो British court तो कहेगा भाई देखो तुमने साइन किया था to cultivate indigo, हाँ, लोन लिया था, हाँ, फिर हमसे ना हो पाएगा. अरे ये तो पहले सोचना था. You should have thought it earlier. This is a contract. I have to implement the contract. Police, हटाओ इसको. नहीं, हटाओ. This kind of scenario. Right. So that is the issue actually. Right. They will enforce the contract. As simple as भाई वो तो कानून अंधा होता है ना. कानून does not see your emotions. कानून is simply saying that this is law and they are implementing the law. This is a contract. They are implementing the contract. Right. So that is what is there. Right. Plus operation by Indian agents of planters. Plus operation by Indian agents of planter. Because planter is a rich person. He'll be having some Indians on his payroll who will come with lathials to beat you up. Indian agents of planter. Indian agents of planter. हाँ जी. Yeah, so the student is saying, did not the British think that the indigo cultivation will harm the soil productivity and therefore overall it can hurt the overall productivity and then the land revenue, right? The simple point is one point. Britishers they believe in capitalism. So therefore they do not want to interfere what the owner of the land, he does with that land. Second point, only 25% of the land it is going under indigo cultivation. Indigo cultivation, it is a commercial crop which will sell at great price in the market. The government will be able to get its land revenue. The government will be able to get its land revenue. Third point, we have permanent settlement. The government does not care what happens to the productivity of the land. You have to give that amount of money either from your savings bank account or from your earnings. I don't care. मुझे इतना पैसा तो मिलना ही मिलना है. So therefore, as soon as you have permanent settlement, where the land revenue is fixed at an absolute amount, the government does not care what happens to the productivity of the land. The government's prime focus is, भाई मेरा land revenue तो मेरे को मिलना ही मिलना है. तू नहीं देगा तो auction कर दूंगा land, कोई और देगा. That's why the Britishers, they did not build canals also in permanent settlement areas. Why? They are like कि हमें क्या करना है वो देखेंगे खुद. Right? हमें अपना land revenue मिलना चाहिए. अगर ऐसा, if this happens that someday that all the zamindar they are failing to pay land revenue, then we'll see कि क्या deep issue है. Till the point of time I am getting my land revenue, that's it. With more agricultural productivity मेरा क्या फायदा? With more agricultural productivity will I get more land revenue? Land revenue is permanently fixed. So you take tension of land productivity. I will not take tension of land productivity. As simple as that. Right. Next, write down. Last paragraph. Role of religion. Role of religion. Role of religion. Role of religion. First point. Grievance that religion under threat. Grievance that religion under threat. Grievance that religion under threat. Because of Christian missionaries. Because of Christian missionaries. Because of Christian missionaries. Plus British ending. Plus British ending. Revenue. British ending. Revenue or rent-free tenures. British ending. Revenue or rent-free tenures. Revenue or rent-free tenures on lands of religious sects, on lands of religious sects, on lands of religious sects. Right? Meaning क्या है? So basically, for example, let's say you are follower of some particular religious sect. Let's say you are Dasnami Sadyasi, or you are, let's say, Madari Fakirs. You are into spiritualism. You all are members of this sect and I am the leader of this particular religious sect. The Mughal ruler knows that we are majorly into spirituality. And it is only for our sustenance that we have some lands, we do cultivation also. So therefore, the ruler, he declared that we are not required to pay revenue. We are not required to pay any taxes. Why? Religious society है, it is like a SOP given to religious society. भाई आप धार्मिक आदमी हो, right, fine, ठीक है, मैं आपसे टैक्स नहीं लूंगा, you go ahead, ठीक. So therefore your primary focus is not earning money also, and anyways you are part of a sect and therefore you have this benefit from the ruler that tax will not be taken from you. When the Britishers come, they find it very weird. That why? Because you are following some religion, therefore you should not pay tax. So they end these revenue-free tenures or rent-free tenures, chahe revenue ho, chahe rent ho, and they said, "Bhaiya, everyone has to pay tax or everyone has to pay rent. Zamindar, you can collect rent from them also." ये क्या होता है? Rent-free tenure, revenue-free tenure, क्या बकवास है? Right? And therefore you are like, कैसा आदमी? You're like, he has no concern for religion. हमारा religion कोई respect नहीं है, no religion respect. So therefore it will cause a grievance. Plus Christian missionaries तो हैं from 1813, they are trying to spread Christianity. So this is the grievance. Next point, within this role of religion. Second role of religion. Religion helped in giving organization. Religion helped in giving organization. In form of a leader, and unity. In form of a leader and unity among those who revolted. Among those who revolted. Among those who revolted. Especially when, among those who revolted, especially when a sect revolted. 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 Right? So what is the meaning of this particular thing? Basically, let's say I am some religious guru and you are the followers. Right? We meet every day for 1 hour and then on the weekend we meet for 3 hours. Right? You are very religious and I am your religious guru. We study spiritualism, we meditate, or we do whatever. Right? But one day, all of you are very troubled. You're not able to concentrate. Right? And I ask you, why are you troubled? Then you tell me that, sir, landlessness is taking place. That, sir, high rents are being extracted by the zamindar. Right? This kind of scenario it is present. That indigo planter is oppressing us. After the meeting, this indigo planter, his agent comes and he comes with armed men, etc., etc. Right? So, Guruji, kuch samadhan batao. This is a economic oppression. The problem is economic. I am a religious guru, but the way the society works, I am like, this thing that they are doing is anti-God. This is ungodly. How can they behave it like this? Let us all come together and we'll rise collectively. I'll provide you leadership. I am a religious guru, but I will provide you leadership in a peasant revolt. You are members of a sect, therefore you are like, and you shake hands, gale lagte ho, right? You have unity with each other. Why? Because of a religion, you are meeting every day. आपके बीच में भाईचारा है, brotherhood है. Organization क्या होती है? Members of the organization, they should be able to coordinate with each other. They should be united. Organization क्या होती है? Organization should have a leader who can give commands, who can give direction, who can make a program. So therefore, you see, this is the role of religion, that because you are a member of a sect, therefore, you get to have a leader, you get to have unity among the members, and therefore you get to have some kind of organization while you are revolting. Because pre-1857 हम किसी संस्था का नाम नहीं पढ़ते हैं. Pre-1857 कुछ ऐसा नहीं होता that this Congress, XYZ Congress revolted, this Sabha revolted. नहीं. Forming organizations, proper संस्था बनाना एक modern politics का काम है. This is a feature of modern politics. Right? But no revolt can take place without these elements of a leader, a program, unity, timing, coordination. ये तो सब चीजें चाहिए ना. ठीक है. क्या है सिंपल? आप सिंपली इतना इमेजिन कर लो. Let's say there is a party organized. You are not member of any sabha. Right? There is a party organized. Right? He is organizing the party. Why? Because he was not having hair on his head. Finally, some hair have come. Right? So he is giving you party. ठीक? He is giving you party. Up, you are not part of any organization. But because of education, because of UPSC, all of you were meeting again and again on a daily basis. Therefore, you knew each other. Therefore, you had some bonds with each other. Right? Therefore, there was some kind of a WhatsApp group where he can take some leadership and he can say we are meeting at this particular point of time in that particular club, right? चलेगी पार्टी पूरी रात, right? And he, right? So therefore ऐसा ऐसा है, तो therefore this kind of scenario he's saying. So therefore you see, कोई आपकी सभा नहीं है, कोई organization नहीं है, but because you were for some other reason you had bonds of unity and there was some person who was ready to lead the party, right? Who was ready to take some leadership. Therefore you guys now have a leader, you have a plan. इसने बोला है 7 बजे उस मेट्रो स्टेशन पे मिलना है, ये आएगा नहीं, वो मैटर अलग है, ठीक, बट 7 बजे आप लोग पहुंचोगे, right? At 7 PM you will be there, right? So therefore this kind of scenario. So therefore you see, because you had a common sentiment towards UPSC, therefore you were able to have these elements of organization. Similarly वहां पे, because you were part of a sect, therefore you were able to have a leader, you were able to have unity, you were able to have programs. So this is also a role which is played by religion. इसी वजह से बहुत सारे peasant revolts हम देखते हैं. मदारी फकीर revolted, दसनामी सन्यासीज revolted, Faraizi revolt. Faraizi was a religious movement. Faraizi revolt of 1830s. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है that some sect is revolting? Because ऐसा चीज मिल रहा था हमको, ऑर्गेनाइज प्री प्रिपेयर्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हमको मिल पा रहा था बिकॉज ऑफ रिलीजन. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल विच रिलीजन प्लेड, राइट? सो देयरफॉर दिस इज द थिंग विच इज प्रेजेंट. ठीक, अब नेक्स्ट इसमें क्या है? नेक्स्ट इसमें है ट्राइबल्स. 10 मिनट और ले लेता हूं आपके. लिखो लिखो यार, लिखो. तुम्हारे से बातें करने के चक्कर में मैंने आज क्लासेस कैलकुलेट करी, पीछे चलना है हम. लिखो, इसीलिए आज इतना सीरियस हूं. लिखो लिखो ट्राइबल्स. तुम बातें बहुत सट्टाते हो. ट्राइबल्स मैं सट्टाता हूं, है? ट्राइबल्स ठीक. नहीं इसी में ही है. ये ग्रीवेंसेस ऑफ ट्राइबल्स हैं. लिख लिए ग्रीवेंसेस ऑफ ट्राइबल्स. ग्रीवेंसेस ऑफ ट्राइबल्स, ट्राइबल ग्रीवेंसेस लिख लो, कुछ भी लिख लो. इनके क्या ग्रीवेंसेस हैं? ठीक है, तो इसकी डिक्टेशन हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में करेंगे, बट समझाऊंगा मैं अभी 10 मिनट लेके. ठीक है, देखिए, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ ट्राइबल, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ ट्राइबल एंड अ पेजेंट? क्या डिफरेंस है? ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है दैट देयर इज अ ट्राइबल हु इज देयर इन द फॉरेस्ट एरिया. सुन लो भाई, इंटरेस्टिंग है. ठीक है, बोरिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है, थोड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग तरीके से समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है दैट देयर इज अ ट्राइबल who is living in the forests and he is doing farming. He is doing terrace farming, let's say, or he is doing any kind of farming. So he is also a peasant. Answer is yes. That is why in the books, many of the times the word tribal and peasants, they are used interchangeably. So when the book is saying peasants rose, it is including the tribals also. कौन सी बुक्स? शेखर बंदोपाध्याय हो गया, आपका बिपिन चंद्रा हो गया, these kind of books, right? So difference क्या है? Difference is that the tribals, they live separately in the forests or in the hills. They live separate from the mainstream society. Mainstream society को बोलते हैं societies of the plain, right? So therefore this kind of scenario it is there. This is the plain and at the periphery या तो hills होंगे on the periphery. Anyone from Manipur? Anyone from Manipur? No one? So for example, Manipur, this is structure. This is the plains, right? And surrounded by hills. There the tribals they live. Or they can be forests. So this is a mainstream society. Mainstream politics, mainstream economics, everything it is dominated by the plains people. Tribals, they have lived separately since centuries. And which is their home? This is their home. There is some limited contact between them, but otherwise they are living separately. This uniqueness, that we are separate, we are different, हमारा अपना घर है, हम अलग हैं, that is the differentiating point between a peasant and a tribal. Peasant is here, tribal is here, right? And what is the problem? Problem is, major reason or major grievance for the tribals is entry of outsiders and turning of my life upside down by the British rule, right? That is the problem. Outsider is the problem, and therefore the component of homeland, this is additional grievance in the case of tribals. कि मेरा घर, right? My home, my homeland, right? So who are these outsiders? Britishers, they come and they become rulers, right? So the Britishers, what do they apply? they'll enter into the forest and they will say this tribe is working as per some tribal law. What is this tribal law? ऐसा है CRPC, IPC, CPC. British law is going to apply in this forest area also. What is there कि हम we are a separate tribe, we follow our own culture, right? Nothing. So therefore one kind of outsider is the British law. ये तो पहले नहीं था हमारे यहाँ पे. Now they are saying CPC, CRPC, पता नहीं क्या चीज है, what kind of thing it is. So an outside law is starting to apply, govern my life. To implement that law, a policeman also comes. So therefore, can we say that the British officials who come to implement this particular law, they are also outsiders? कि पहले तो दिखता नहीं था ये आदमी, he was not here, ये कहां से आ गया, who is he? This kind of stuff. Then second concern of the Britishers is what? The second concern of the Britishers is forest. Forest has wealth. Example, timber, right? So timber, it can be utilized for railways, timber, it can be utilized for ships, and therefore the Britishers, they give contracts of cutting trees to businessmen, for example to merchants, Indian merchants, ki go ahead and get this, you can trade timber, right? So therefore these people, the Indian merchants, they come in, right? And therefore they are also outsiders, they are cutting the trees now. Tribal was sleeping on the tree. This kind of scenario, they are cutting the tree, right? So therefore forest produce. फिर mining is also there. That means industrial revolution has taken place in Britain, and now they require raw materials like iron, raw iron, right? Raw coal, etc., etc., right? Other minerals. So therefore they get a British businessman. After 1813, monopoly of the East India Company is no more there. Now non-East India Company businesses, they can enter, and they can enter the forest also. They do mining. So therefore, British businesses, the tribal is watching. कि कितने सारे लोग आ गए हैं, right? I am tribal, I am watching. कौन कौन आ गया? ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल आ रहा है, कह रहे हैं हाँ यहाँ मेरी चलेगी, right? इंडियन मर्चेंट हैज कम, ठीक है, वो पेड़ काट रहा है, ठीक है. ब्रिटिश बिजनेसमैन हैज कम, वो खुदाई करनी स्टार्ट कर दी. क्या दिस इज माय होम है, ये मेरा घर है. Imagine ऐसे लोग आके, imagine that you are go back after the class to your home and some people they start entering into your house, right? They start using your computer. तो वहां पे पता नहीं क्या क्या टाइप करने जा रहे हैं. This kind of scenario, right? कोई आपकी किचन में घुस के क्या कहते हैं, मैगी बना रहा है, right? How will you feel? Develop some empathy. ठीक. So these are outsiders. They do mining, etc. This kind of scenario. अच्छा जी. Apart from this, what is there? Because the Britishers, they wanted, either to protect the forests or they wanted these forest resources. So they bring forest laws. This British law was, for example, also forest law. In environment, you study reserved forests. This thing was created by the Britishers. And they say that in the reserved forest, tribals, they cannot be there. So imagine now 2-3 people came. You are sitting, watching, your monthly magazine, etc. कुछ लोगों ने आपको उठाया और घर के पार फेंक दिया. This is reserved area. Right? So reserved forests. माने लॉस ऑफ होम बिकॉज यू वांट टू कंजर्व फॉरेस्ट. ठीक है. अभी तक हम तो फॉरेस्ट में ही रह रहे हैं, हम अपना घर तो. अजीब चीज है, ये जो अमीर लोग हैं हमारे जैसे, ठीक है, पीपल ऑफ द प्लेन्स, ये बहुत कनिंग टाइप के लोग होते हैं. ठीक है. टिल नाउ, मतलब टिल द पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मॉडर्न इकोनॉमी वाज नॉट देयर, फॉरेस्ट वर देयर ना, देवर देयर हूं है. यू पीपल कम, यू एक्सप्लॉइट द फॉरेस्ट, देन यू आर द वंस हु आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कंजर्व द फॉरेस्ट. क्लाइमेट चेंज, no climate change problem under the tribals, climate change problem because of you guys है. और तुम ज्ञान दे रहे हो ट्राइबल्स को who have flourished in their home and their home has flourished in so many years. कभी सोचना इस बारे में? उनके अंडर जब तक था तब तक तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी. This kind of scenario. So forest law, that homelessness आ रही है इससे. Then another kind of scenario it is coming, another kind of British law. For example, they say झूम cultivation is banned. झूम cultivation माने slash and burn cultivation. So tribals क्या करते थे? They will cultivate a particular piece of land. After that, they will burn it, right? Then they'll go and cultivate another piece of land. They'll burn it, then again cultivate another piece of land. Harvest के बाद burn it, another piece of land. By that time, the first piece of land has got its fertility back. Then they cultivate this piece of land. Britishers, they are interested in land revenue. Britishers like ये कौन सा system है that tribals they will not pay land revenue. The Britishers they come. They recognize, okay, you're a tribal, you're cultivating this particular piece of land, you're a tribal, you're cultivating this particular piece of land. पूरा इंची टेप से मेजर किया, ठीक, आपका, ठीक है, एरिया जो आप कल्टिवेट कर रहे हो, ठीक है, ठीक है. सो ऐसा आइडेंटिफाई किया, जियो कोऑर्डिनेट एक्सेट्रा, ठीक है. ओके दिस मच अमाउंट ऑफ लैंड रेवेन्यू, ठीक. एंड आफ्टर दिस कहते हैं यू आर कमिंग, मतलब आफ्टर द हार्वेस्ट द ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल इज कमिंग एंड दे लाइक तुम हो ही नहीं, धुआं धुआं हो रखा, यू आर नॉट देयर, नाउ वेयर टू सर्च. The British official is reporting that this month no land revenue collection, or this year no land revenue collection from this area. तू कहां गया, पता नहीं कहां चला गया, पेड़ों से कुत्ता चला गया कहीं. You ran away somewhere, ठीक है, मतलब वो तो फन वजह से कह रहा हूं, but you ran away somewhere else, right? This kind of scenario, and there you are cultivating different piece of land. So therefore कौन था, so भाई Britishers if they want land revenue collection they believe in settled cultivation. क्या तू यहां से हिलेगा नहीं, ठीक, no slash and burning, you will stay here only, you will cultivate this land only, right, nothing else, right, so that when I come I can take the land revenue, right. So therefore that is what is there. तो ये है, so झूम कल्टिवेशन. फिर उसके बाद ये चीता आदमी था, this was tribal who is hunter gatherer, he's a hunter, right, that means he's not doing cultivation, he's the person who kills animals, and that is how it is. Now how can the Britishers take land revenue from you? कुछ ऐसा तो that you have killed a deer तो 50% deer तू government को देगा, this kind of scenario cannot be there, right. So therefore I do not want you to be a hunter gatherer, I want you to be a cultivator. So therefore I'll ban hunting. For example, in Hyderabad region there were these tribals called Chenchus, right. Chenchus, they nearly went extinct, right, because hunting was banned. अब उनका way of life ही नहीं है वो, right. So therefore these are the laws because of which the tribals they are feeling कि यार our life is being turned upside down, ठीक. Then the Britishers they want land revenue, right. So many of the times what they will do, there is a zamindar, they will say Mr. Zamindar now you are owner of these lands also, so go ahead and take land revenue from these areas also. I am making you owner of the not just these lands, you are owner of these lands also. So therefore zamindar is an outsider, zamindar is an outsider. Now ये आ गया zamindar, tribals are watching, हाँ भाई तू कौन, कह रहा I am the owner of land, करेक्ट नहीं, राइट. एक और आउटसाइडर आ गया. फिर अनदर सिस्टम, फार्मिंग सिस्टम हो सकता है, रेवेन्यू फार्मर्स. In some cases the revenue farmers they are given the contract that you collect land revenue for this particular season from here. एक revenue farmer भी आ गया, right, that I am a revenue farmer, give me land revenue, ठीक. कुछ केसेस में इन्होंने बोला ट्राइबल, ओके यू आर द ओनर ऑफ द लैंड एंड योर जो ट्राइबल लीडर है ही इज द जमींदार, राइट. कुछ केसेस में ये बना दिया. सो देयर प्रॉब्लम ऑफ हाई लैंड रेवेन्यू विल बी देयर. टू पे दिस हाई लैंड रेवेन्यू मनी लैंडर विल एंटर. मनी लैंडर से डोंट वरी आई एम देयर, टेक लोन. सो देयरफॉर वही प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, इंडेटेडनेस, हाई इंटरेस्ट रेट्स. सो देयरफॉर द ट्राइबल पर्सन इज वॉचिंग, कहते क्या सर्कस लग गया मेरी लाइफ में, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सर्कस इज दिस, ठीक. फिर रेलवे लाइंस, रेल रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन, this point was to be connected with this point, right. So therefore they started this railway line. This land needs to be acquired, this land needs to be acquired. British businessman, he is constructing the railways, roadways. The tribals को बोला गया निकलो यहां से, we are acquiring this land. The tribals are crying, और क्या रो मत, क्या कर, you become a laborer on this project. So imagine some people enter your house, right, and they tell you just I bana mil. Outsiders are entering their home and making them landless laborers, forced labor, कि यहां पे रेलवे प्रोजेक्ट पे you start your labor now, this kind of scenario, right. So therefore these are the grievances, and in different tribal revolts you will see that this kind of scenario it is taking place, right. So there is a small homework, and the homework is you have to read and in fact take a printout. मैंने आज तक किसी प्रिंट आउट के लिए बोला नहीं है, ठीक है, बट ये वाला प्री 1857 पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स हैंड आउट, ठीक है, ये आपका ये दो प्री 1857 पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स हैंड आउट, ये तीन लेना, 1920 और 21, इन तीनों के वो ले लेना, प्रिंट आउट लेना, अपलोड हो जाएगा, अपलोड करवा देना प्लीज, ठीक है. कहां तक हुआ है अपलोड? 12 तक हुआ था, अच्छा. तो अब आप करा दो, फिर 21 तक करा दो, 21 तक करा दो, ठीक है। तो ये करना, बाकी नेक्स्ट क्लास हो जाएगा कल सवेरे तक, है? तो कल एक बार पढ़ के आना इनको, ठीक है ना।